background too, so I'm watching it from.
Got 11 likes already. That's
really cool. All right, okay. Let me make sure we're all back in. Hopefully that means we're actually live right now. So, hello and welcome everyone to Disgustingly Resilient Podcast, live take. A bit of an eventful day today.
Still says live stream starting soon.
There's a delay,
way.
Will. There's a delay between us.
You've got it, yeah, got you.
Yeah, it's on. I was checking our screen there. So once again, guys, we're going to ask you for the usual audio check. I am obviously joined myself by Will. Say hello, Will.
Hello, Will.
Quite literally. And obviously our new third member, Death Guard Dave.
Hello everyone, how you doing?
Now, one thing was actually mentioned by a commenter, we need to update our intro, Will. It's because at the moment it's still just us two, so we need to actually update that at some point. And you can also say my last name correct this time.
Will do. Aidan Smelly.
yeah, we'll go with that. But yeah, hello chat. Welcome. There's quite a lot of people in chat actually, so really happy to have you here. Obviously, big day as we know. Lots of things, you know. Now we're getting a bit of a mixed signals. We're getting some people saying we're very quiet, some people saying we're good. We're all quite quiet. That's okay. I can turn it up.
Is mine good?
I will mess with these. Volume up. All right. Give me 1 second. Plague Marines. Typhus and Death Shroud having a dance. Hopefully that's like louder.
Mic check.
Your time to sing a song, Will.
Hello, my name is Will, and I'm singing a really bad song. Woo. That one's coming in at number 1 in the rubbish bin.
Still quite quiet. Okay, I will. My goodness, I'll have to actually go to my actual sound settings now. Give me 1 second. Advanced. Let me just turn this up a little bit on the levels.
Getting lots of sounds good, but
okay. I'm getting.
Yeah, if what might have to happen is if it's too loud, you might have to turn yourself down to give headroom to turn us above you to balance it, and then do the master volume rather than individuals.
Right. Okay.
That made sense.
Right, I've got you two as loud as I can possibly do. Bloody hell. Everyone's like louder. I can't go too much louder. I'm almost maxed and everything on my end anyway.
So if you're louder than us here, then turn yourself down, and then obviously we go louder in comparison, and then people can just turn their output on their listening, and that'll balance the sound.
Okay, right. Okay, we're gonna try and stick with this. If people keep going on and saying louder, then I will do. But some people are saying it's fine. Trying to adjust your own audio to make it as best you can. I don't want to I can't keep going too crazy. The master volume on OBS is as high as it can go, Austin. I have it as high as possible at the moment. But yeah, eventful day, everyone. So Balanced Data Slate has dropped. They did manage to keep their promise. It is January, just about, barely. We were all waiting for it for last week, and obviously we have it here now. And I think if we just give a quick sort of overall, I'm fairly happy. What about you two?
Yeah. I think it was kind of a nice mix of not too much and some of the right things getting changed.
I agree. So what we're going to do is we're going to go obviously through the Balanced Data Slate first. Then we'll look at points changes. We're going to stop and talk about anything that we think is important, especially to the big armies of the meta, because obviously impacts to other armies do obviously impact us as Death Guard players ourselves. Eldar being nerfed is obviously a massive boon for us.
Yes.
yeah, no, right. So we'll touch on them.
Is it a nerf though, Eldar? This is the other question I've got.
No,
there's
this
a lot of
nerf.
units in that thing that we haven't even seen yet. I think it's just going to be another new iteration. Maybe not as oppressive, but I think the current list is dead, but I think another new list is probably going to rise from the deep.
Well, the current list is dead. Long live the new list.
In fact, quickly dead the new list if we can have our way as Death Guard.
Scroll this in a bit. So hopefully, I'm just checking my missus screen so everyone can see this nice and big. Hopefully, okay. So let's just go through quickly. So. A lot of things here have already been, annoyingly, they kept in red changes from the previous one as well. So all this here is basically the same. Insane braveries, stratagems, Overwatch, etc. I saw a fellow before saying that he thought you cannot target a Titanic unit with a stratagem meant you can't Overwatch knights. No, you can definitely Overwatch knights. You can't Overwatch with knights.
With the knights, yeah.
Which is quite funny. But here is the meat and the potatoes of the entire thing. So we've obviously going to be going through these. So first up, we've got the Adeptus Sororitas, who now have basically had a bit of a change from the Triumph of St. Catherine. That unit can perform up to 2 acts of faith per phase instead of only 1. I believe it used to be as many as they wanted to, which meant you could have like a squad of Retributors doing like 8 flat 6 melter shots with a Dialogus, because the Dialogus made any dice spent on them automatically a 6, and this let them spend as many as they want, so they just be like, blah, there you go, Morty's got 1 shot. So overall, minor change. Don't think it's really going to be, anything too big. Oh, the plus sign next to it means it's the new thing. Oh, thank you, Austin. Okay, I'm the idiot. Yeah, sisters, small change there. I don't think it really is going to matter too much. It's nice that we can't, we're not just going to get domed for 30 odd damage on Mortarion dead easily. But overall, it's not the biggest change. I don't think we have too much talking points on that one, do we, guys?
No, not really.
Interesting one. Not necessarily for us, because I don't know if you noticed it, guys. We have a kind of a lack of devastating wound abilities. But it does mean my favourite army in the game to fight is going to probably see a bit of a resurgence. So Adeptus Custodes are getting their Feel No Pain back against devastating wounds, which was the current thing that was kind of keeping them in the dirt. With that being changed, and some points changes that we'll see later, we might see Custodes back in the meta a bit. How do you guys feel about Custodes as an opponent as Death Guard?
I don't know, man. Obviously, people who listen to my solo series know if they just make all the 4+ saves, then they're not my favourite one to play against. But I think at the same time they're a good army. I think the reasons it would make me press to Death Guard make me pressive to all armies, to be fair, especially now the Dev Wounds thing's kind of not working against them. The fact we lack Dev Wounds probably balances out and means that we're no longer as favourable a matchup to them compared to the other armies out there. We're kind of probably more sort of lumped in. Not that they're we've got better against them as such, just that maybe I don't know really. I think it's kind of 6 and 2 3s really. I think Custodes were always. I think they're the same for us. They get a few more units as when we go through the points, but because we lack Dev Wounds, apart from having another unit on the table,
that's what I was going to say. We don't do a lot of Dev Wounds, so it doesn't make I think a huge amount of difference us going into them. Though certain other things that change might do.
Yeah, I agreed with the Dev Wounds because we have such a lack of it anyway. It's like Morty's spell, that's about it, and like probably some stupid little weapon somewhere.
Autocannon.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. But the fact that this is the only sort of ability they got given back basically means that we have not really got any worse against them. They're going to have a few more models because of points drops, but I think this, because of our -1 save contagion, our plethora of anti-infantry weapons, someone in the chat just said it then, 2+ anti-infantry and -1 save helps. I think we're still going to just... I have a reputation for mauling Custodes players, apparently. I look forward to mauling more of them. Any other points on Custodes, guys?
No,
not really. I think like we said, the matchup just stays the same for us, really. I don't think it changes.
Agreed. Big one, Aeldari. So this is one of the armies we didn't really like seeing across the table to us. However, let's go through it. So first up, the Fate dice, they only get 6 of them now instead of, was it 9 or it started at like 12?
400, wasn't it?
Infinite, I'm pretty sure it was, yeah. So this is cool. This is a good little nerf, stops them getting as much reliable auto 6s, tones down a bit of that dice manipulation bullshit that kind of everyone's head in. You finally land that melter shot off your Blight Hauler because you definitely aren't running Brigands. And then, they go, oh, I'll make a 6-up save automatically. And you're like, great, one chance my Blight Hauler does something and it gets auto 6. So them having less of those dice to play with is obviously a benefit to anyone that's going against this army. Mortarion's Muffin Company with the 10 gifted memberships. Thank you very much, mate. Once again, Morty's Muffin Company coming in with his delivery of pestilence for the good guys in chat. For people that do get gifted a membership,
muffins off.
just dropping his muffins off. For people that do get gifted a membership, check out the community tab on the YouTube channel page. There's a link to our Discord for the Discussing Resilient podcast. Join it, get involved. With lots of talk going over at the moment, etc. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you in there. And congratulations if you got gifted a membership. And thank you again, Morty's Muffin Company. So yeah, that's quite cool. Less reliable dice. That's nice. The next change is once it's a relic that they can take, an enhancement. Usually this enhancement, it's now been changed to only being usable by the bearer. You used to use it on the unit, so they could basically auto 6 a save or auto 6 a dev wound D-cannon on a Wraith Guard, which is annoying. That now being only to the user means you're not just going to get... It's basically free. It was an extra fate dice every turn. Which is now gone. Only the wielder can use it, which is a lot less powerful, which is really nice. So, yeah, another small nerf, not the biggest one there, but it's a nice change. But the next one is big, and it's very big. Phantasm.
The one we've been waiting for.
Phantasm. It's finally been nerfed. Now we actually predicted a nerf to Phantasm, but we didn't think this was going to be the nerf that they got. We actually predicted that the nerf would be no Wraith units. However, what's actually happened is they've changed it from a flat 7-inch move to kind of being like every other faction's reaction move, where it's only a d6. This means they can actually fluff it and roll a 1, which makes me very happy.
Spend that CP to roll a 1.
Oh, it's going to feel so good, and then you still make the charge anyway. So this means our rapid ingress plays into units are way less risky, because normally you drop down 9, they'd move 7 away, Gratch, you landed and did nothing now. Now you drop down 9, you walk forward to 5, they move back potentially 1 inch.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. You got a 6-inch charge in your hands. So that's really cool. We're really happy about that. Hello, Don Houston in the chat as well.
Don.
I am OP again.
You were always OP, Don.
So the fact that this is now limited to infantry only, and it's not a reliable 7-inch move, and it's very risky, and like Dave said, it's not just a d6 move, it's a command point, and you can still risk just rolling a 1, which is probably going to make people not just auto use this every turn like they used to. So a fantastic buff. Anything that lets us catch those stupid elves is great for Death Guard, and I look forward to many of you telling me stories of your Plague Marines, your Death Shroud, making charges out of Deep Strike into these phantasming little bastards.
Can I check one thing with that? Because there might be an interaction there that just sort of to highlight, because it's still not a bad strat. I mean, this is a kind of strat that in most... It's a nerf compared to how broken it was, but if that was in most of the armies, people would be like, oh my god, this is a really good strat, you should use most terms. Does the move count as a normal move? Because if you can, you'll still be able to fate dice it, and it's to 6. So I don't know if it counts as a normal move or not.
It's a good point, but I think even if they do, right? Now, let's say they start with 6.
You can't fate dice a normal move. You can fate dice an advance, not a normal move.
Oh, okay, so the D6 won't count as an advance.
I don't believe you can fate dice.
Just thought it was something to sort of to be aware of.
I think even if it did, I'd be quite happy with a reduced fate dice pool, that they would be burning one of those 6s to do that. You're right. It's but you're right. It's still a chance they could use it.
Yeah, the burning 2 resources.
Still a really good rule. Like it's
so good
compared to what it was. It's
even if they
way
want
more
to play the odds, they're like, well, I can't come any further away than probably 3 inches from a wall, for example, or around a wall to try and get back around it on another 3 on the other side or whatever. It's really interesting the amount of pressure it puts on now. It makes it a real decision point.
So the next one is just a change to Eldrad. He normally gave them an extra 3 dice up to 12. Now obviously it's just been reflected to 3 dice to 9. It's the same as it was. It has just literally been rephrased to be correct. But the next change, however, finally, Night Spinners can get in the fucking bin.
Actually, I watched someone else's stream. It's not actually what you think it is. It's actually there's a buff in there. It didn't affect charges before.
Admittedly, that, but also
it's actually more of a sideways buff.
But it was
wasn't
it no advance?
Yeah, it was the advance that was a pain in the ass.
I think it's. So I think you now don't lose your advance. It hurts every charge, advance, and move, and it's also if you want to say it now, the other big thing that's hit it is obviously points.
Yes, this thing has
points definitely hurt it. But there's a stealth buff in there, which I think is likely GW sort of not realising what the original rules were and copy pasting something in. which is classic GW. But it's just to highlight to people that there is, because people, I would have overlooked if I hadn't watched a different stream in prep for this where they'd picked up on it. So it was something to sort of highlight, really, and just sort of say, previously if people were expecting it didn't work on charges, be aware it does now work on charges.
Yeah, which is it's basically been pulled in line with every other ability that has the same rules. So I'm fine with that. I didn't get why they had a special preferential treatment. I still think the rule's mega powerful. Like subtracting 2 from move, advance, and charge is really good. But it's sometimes like just not being able to advance at all meant like you just couldn't get anywhere at all.
That killed me in in one of the games at Leicester where I was just like I couldn't even have moved from one objective marker to another. Because I couldn't roll the advance to kind of move off of it, even though I'd sticked it. I would have just moved 2 inches with my Terminators, sat in the middle between 2 objective markers and gotten absolutely just shot off.
Yeah.
And even though they do still keep heavy, they do still keep 2 damage. So they're still a nasty weapon.
It is still nasty, but thankfully when we get to the points, you'll see they get an even bigger hit. Oh my god, more. Okay, more change for Eldar. So the Incan can only do his teleport now in each of the owner's turns, so can't do it in your opponent's turn, and you can't do it multiple times, so that's quite nice. They can still charge, however, which is a little annoying.
It's a teleport, so you can't teleport in your
opponent's
turn now, I think it is.
Yeah, so what it means is normally you would have to be conscious of if I kill, like say you shoot some Plague Burst Crawlers, kill like a lone warp spider. If you messed that up and forgot to shoot the Incan first, you could then pick it up and teleport to where like, Warp Spider died, potentially getting out of trouble, which was just kind of an annoying interaction because a lot of people, I imagine a lot of people that are nice people would be like, hey, be aware if you do that, I will teleport, maybe do this first. But it did open up some gotchas where you're like, ha ha, you fool! I will now move away.
I mean, I mean, the good players, I would say, would play for the gotcha. Like, they wouldn't, because it depends where you are in a tournament, doesn't it? If you're sort of playing in your final round, then there's say a 4-1 or a 5-0 on the cards. Yeah. At that point, the top players, they're banking on you making a mistake, and they're not going to point it out. Obviously, at the start of the game, if you ask me a question, I'll answer honestly, or they'll remind you of what the rules is before you deploy it. Yeah. But once a game gets going, that's kind of its strength, isn't it? The Incan, that you forget what it does, and then it's like you pick the model up, you do something else, and they put it down, and it's like, no, you pick the model up, now you're reacting to what I've done. Sorry, mate. Like, think next time, which is the harsh reality, and it definitely minimises those kind of like toxic plays. Yeah.
Well, the one bright thing is now the Eldar player doesn't have to like focus so much in the opponent's turn, worrying about where his Yunkan can go. So that's nice for them because they can use that brain power to start screening out a monolith in the back lines.
Even if they use that time to go to the toilet, they're still going to be looking over their shoulders because that monolith fits in very close anywhere.
It does. Yeah. The backdoor monolith, what a play. And then the last change we got is the Wraith Guard, which is, thank God for this rule.
This is brilliant.
This is big. Basically, the way it was that when you shot a Wraith Guard unit, they just got to shoot back at anything. They could target what they wanted to, they could target multiple things, they could do whatever they wanted to. It was basically a free shooting phase. Now, the unit has to shoot back at the unit that shot at it, which means you're not going to worry about, shooting some flamers at this thing and then them tapping your Mortarion, which is really nice because it means you can actually put charge threats in range and then shoot this unit from out of range without getting your guys that are near to make charges killed.
Totally.
It's huge.
So you can actually now get Boil Bite plays on this, fire all your mortars out from safety because they can't target them because of range and line of sight. Yeah. And they can't shoot your melee, and then you still get to charge them with full strength melee. It's a big change and a massive nerf to Wraith Guard and the bullshit that they could do. So that's really good for us. And in general, this is how it should have been in the start, because it's how every other fireback stratagem works in the game and ability. So I think, again, this is just the... We made the joke, Will, when it was me and you in an episode, and we said, Eldar always, oh, what's your rule? Oh, I do that, but better. Whereas now they're being brought back to, what's your rule? Oh, mine's the same.
Actually, as well, this is a great time to plug something that Dave's going to do. So Dave's going to do a solo series, and one of the things he's going to focus on first is a Predator Destructor. All of a sudden, if they stay in the meta range, Predator Destructors have absolute money into them. Like that flat 3 damage shot, all of a sudden now that you can shoot from out of range, that responding to like the charging unit, they are a money unit. If they stay in the game. But I think Wraithguard are probably gone now. I think they're probably going to be out the top tier meta.
Tito in the chat just said
Eldar
people aren't going
lists.
to take them right now. Too expensive. Can't do the Phantasm bullshit with them reliably. I think it's a fairly good point. What's funny is though is not. So I don't mean funny because it isn't. But a lot of Eldar players are probably going to have been collecting these, right, and putting them together for the recent history of tournaments, and now they're going back on the shelf. They're going to go. I've got a space. I've got a space next to the plague surgeon. They can go and stand next.
Oh yeah, they can join him.
They can all hang out at the bus stop. I was just going to say as well, just someone else in the chat, just while we're in the A's, said, what do we think about no Admech changes?
I think that was mainly because of the proximity that they were written to this coming out as a book. I think they need some changes. That have been putting up some okay results. I understand it's not the most fun book, like the builds are quite limited and whatnot. I would like to see some internal. To be honest, Admech, I didn't know this, guys. Did you know the combat patrol for Admech is 235 points?
Yeah, it's crap. It's not good at all.
Yeah, it's 100 quid for two. That's how crap the points are because the units are just awful. I didn't know that.
They're like a Horde army, though, really, aren't they? They're a Horde army that's backed up by armor. Yeah. So they're a really expensive army to collect.
It's just weird to me. They should be like above guardsmen and like below marines, kind of like that sister battle level. Yeah. But hey ho, I don't fully understand it. Like I said, my guess is that it's because it was in the space where the codexes came out. This was probably already written. However, I still think that the army does have some play. You've just really got to work with the kind of like bit more boring builds. But I imagine the next DATASLATE will probably see some changes to Admech if the trend for their power level continues.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to advocate for this, but we're not sponsored by GW. If you are an Admech player, 3D, don't feel bad about 3D printing your army, because like I understand it's those like the chickens, isn't it, that like someone was telling me it's like £350 for a unit of them or something. It's stupid. A £35 a modelling, you can take a unit to 9. I was like, what? So yeah, I don't know. Oh no, is it three different types and you can take? Someone was telling me that's the build apparently, then they were telling me how much it costs, and I was like, whoa, like that's mental.
Well, one of the guys in VT's is running a like mad chicken army, and he just absolutely tabled Necrons with it like the other day. So it's kind of, I think there is probably something in it, but like you said, you need to spend the money on all the models, right?
Yeah, you've got to win a lottery or something too to put that on the table.
Yeah, but I do feel for you, Admech players. You've not had a great addition so far. I do hope we get some changes next slate. For now, either you can either do the hanging and just do your best with what you can, like Death Guard was at the start, or you can just put it to the side for now and try a different army out and see if you can enjoy that. I do feel for you though, because we were in the exact same boat before we got our last changes, and it's not fun. I do feel for you. Next up, on the list, I
was going to say, just before we skip on with Admech, it's probably also a good point. We'll come back to this at the end of finishing out, but there are no changes to Necrons as well for the people who don't realise. We'll talk about that with opinions at the end. But similar to Admech, we think they're too new, and it's just that GW, they're not wanting to change books that are just out because they've just been sold. And maybe they feel there isn't enough data, maybe they don't want to invalidate people's purchases. But we'll come back to that just so if anyone was wondering.
So next up, Agents of the Imperium Exaction Squads. Cool, moving on. Astra Mortarion, Voice of Command army rule. So they can now issue orders when they get out of a transport or they're set up. Cool, I guess. It's more of like a quality of life change. There's probably some guardsman player who's watched this right now like, you don't understand the implications, this is so important. It might be, but I'll be honest, poor guardsman player, I don't know enough about your army to do it, and you've just got Manticores nerfed again, so sorry. Sorry. Yeah, moving on. Blood Angels. Each time Adeptus Custodes unit from your army selected to fight, if they charge, so the difference is they get to add 2 to the strength characteristics instead of 1, because it used to be 1 and 1 attack. Now it's 2 strength and 1 attack. This is actually kind of scary now to us because the mass chainsword attacks are now going to be at strength 6. They can obviously get lance for a command point. So now you got Blood Angel just assault intercessors with chainswords, wounding our terminators on 3s and wounding our plague marines on 2s. Now I don't think this is going to change. I don't think Blood Angel is going to become meta suddenly, but it does mean if you do have a Blood Angel player in your local area, this does mean like the actual stat weights that they have actually gone massively improved versus Death Guard, because they've gone from average wounding you on 4s on the charge to 3s, and then obviously they can spend command points for lance and stuff, and they have stuff like Sanguinary Guard gain up to strength 10 with like power fists and stuff like that. So it actually makes their melee quite scary. People have been complaining, World Eater players have been complaining because they're like, they have the exact same rule, but now Blood Angels get plus two strength. No offense, World Eaters players, but Space Marine melee is anemic compared to World Eater melee. So they kind of needed this one, kind of give it them, guys. But overall, if you have Blood Angels in your area, just be aware that you're going to have a lot more odds to be wounded by those units. But overall, I don't see this making everyone getting the Blood Angels at the collection in before Stephen Box just jumps in the chat now and kicks my head in with some Sangre Guard.
Well, it's all the guys in black with jump packs I'm more concerned about.
Yes, Def Company are scary now. But they already were quite scary, to be fair to them.
They're just more scary now.
Yeah, it's just more scary. So if you do have a Blood Angel player in your region, if he's, it gives them, because we've got to remember, to get this, you also have to take the red first attachment, which was like not very good. This gives it a little bit of a boost. I don't think it's going to be enough to still take you off Gladius, for example, but it makes it more viable, and that's always good to make your actual detachment more viable, which is quite nice. So that's cool. This one actually, now we do have to talk about this one because this one does affect us. So Chaos Demons didn't get any rules changed to themselves, but their rules that allow them to be allies to other armies actually got changed in a big way, and that is the number of non-battle line units with that keyword you include can't be greater than the number of non-battle line units. So what this means is, if you want to take something that isn't battle line, whether that be a Beast of Nurgle, Plague Drones, Rotagus, Grey Unclean One, you have to at least take 1-for-1 ratio of battle line units. So that's not horrible for us because we have two choices with Plague Bearers and Nurglings. Now, this doesn't mean you can't take Nurglings. Just clarify that for everyone. Nurglings are totally fine because Nurglings are battle line, so you can always just take Nurglings. That's fine. But it means if you want to bring, for example, the Snail, because the Snail's really fucking fun and really cool, you will have to at least bring a unit of Nurglings plus the Snail. It's not the biggest change for us. This was more to affect, in my opinion, people that were abusing stuff like Blue Scribes, Changeling, all these lone-up characters from Tzeentch that we didn't have access to anyway. Which does hurt Chaos Knights, as someone just pointed out in the chat. Haha.
Oh, leave the Knights alone. Hey, Chaos Knights, you sit in my corner, Chaos Knights. We'll stick our fingers up here. And
I got yelled at. I got yelled at in the comments of the last video because people were like, "I get you don't like Chaos Knights, bro, but stop." But I do feel for you. Like, I trust me, I don't want anyone's army to be bad, but there's just certain armies in the game that I like to mock. One of them is Knights. One of them is Custodes.
Who doesn't like big stumpy robots? That's all I'm gonna say. Big stumpy robots. What's not to like?
But yeah, it does obviously affect them. It affects anything that could take it, but mainly it doesn't really have an effect on us unless you were really, really lucky. Like Don's probably crying in his bed right now because he can't take a Beast of Nurgle on its own anymore. So you will have to take a Nurgling at least plus your Beast of Nurgle. But everyone likes Nurglings.
Exactly.
Everyone likes
Nurglings. They're in every list anyway.
Yeah.
Now, one
also,
thing.
Fun fact. I always forget you can take 6 units of Nurglings. I always forget that's a thing.
Yeah, battle line.
Anyway,
one thing I will say in chat, if you want 2 Beasts of Nurgle plus like Slimeworks, you will have to take 2 units of Nurglings as well. So it's kind of like, it's a bit grim to try and take one of those characters now, unfortunately. So it's gonna be tough to take slimy boy, snaily boy plus Beast of Nurgle because now you're gonna leave at least 80 points of Nurglings. But it is what it is. Definitely was aimed more at stopping Changeling and Blue Scribe spam.
Yeah.
Chaos Space Marines. Can we get F in the chat for Chaos Space Marines, boys?
I'll start.
Play the world's smallest violin for them.
Yeah. We'll just.
I mean, to be fair, they are our brothers in arms. You know what I mean. So if we're gonna go with the fluff, we are. We are our brothers in arms.
I don't feel Abaddon's ever paid us the due respect.
So Chaos Space Marines were obviously one of the predominant forces alongside Eldar at the moment in the meta, and they have been, to be, gutted, we could say, pretty bad. So the first one is that a unit can only get within a transport if they share the same Chaos mark. This is huge because we've instantly shut down the I get a lot of Fs. That's funny. I'm gonna someone screenshot this and I'm gonna send it to Ben afterwards because he's so upset about this at the moment. We support you, Chaos Space Marine players, because we are in the long war. We're all in the long war together, everyone. But what this means is the current meta was to put somewhat like 5 Chosen plus Chaos Lord, undivided mark, so they can get access to the full rerolls to wound and hit stratagem, into a Chaos Rhino that was Mark of Nurgle, so it can use Dark Obscuration, which meant it couldn't be shot from more than 12 inches away. So you can't do that anymore. If you want to take undivided Chosen and undivided Lord, they have to go in undivided Rhino, which means you're either going to lose output from your Chaos Lord, because they'll have to be Mark of Nurgle, or you're going to lose durability because you can't loan up your Rhino. So that already there was probably, painful enough to them. But GW was like, nah, mate, we're not just here to wound them, we're here to bury them, lads. So not only that, they then changed the stratagem that gives loan up to only work at within 18 inches rather than 12. So used to be you couldn't shoot it if you were outside of 12 inches. Now it's outside of 18 inches, so it's much easier to get your guns onto these targets like Forge Fiends and Rhinos, which is really nice.
By the way, just on the mark thing, it's a really funny vision that there's some bouncer stood at the door of the Rhino being like, no, sorry, mate, not with that mark.
just points to a sign on the Rhino.
Yeah.
It's like no undivided allowed.
Yeah. No, this is the Nurgle party, mate. You're not coming in.
It's so classist, man. Get out of here. I am actually okay with this. I genuinely think Loan Up is one of the worst rules in 10th. I hate its design, I hate its implementation, because it promotes non-interactivity, which is one of the worst things in the game. And this being changed to 18 instead of 12, I would rather it just not be a thing, but I will take 18 inches quite happily, which perfectly is the range of your multi-melter on your Blight Hauler. So the fella out there who still runs Blight Haulers, God bless you, sir. Blow up that Rhino.
Yeah, it was pointed out on another podcast as well. I'm just stealing things from other people's reviews. But the way
it's called research.
The way that circles work though, 18 inches to 12 inches is actually twice as much board space. So it is actually like a much bigger deal than what it sounds like. So if you imagine like a circle, if you fit I'm sure people can understand what I mean. Basically, I was going to try and describe
it there. It covers a much wider area than it does at 12, a much more significantly bigger area at 12 versus 18.
Yeah. The way that circles sort of expand, basically. So that 6 inches is effectively like it's way bigger than what you'd realise, basically.
Yeah. Honestly, I would rather have had every loan up strat like this in the game, like the Necron one, all go to 18, because at 12 it's just so uninteractive and it's just so to deal with. But okay, I'll take 18. Happy. The next one. So again, they're already buried, and this time Gita was like, okay, now I want to set the grave on fire. So
they're salting the earth now.
Yeah. So the stratagem Profane Zeal, it used to be pick a unit, it gets reroll 1s to hit and wound. If it had the Chaos Undivided mark, it gets full rerolls to hit and wound for 1 CP, which was stupid. I will 100% say it. Stupid. You should never have 1 command point, reroll everything. However, they've not only just gutted it, they took it out back and shot it in the back of the head. It can no longer be used if you aren't undivided. So you can't just get reroll 1s to hit and wound on any unit. That's just gone, flat out. You have to be undivided to use the stratagem, and all it does is let you reroll the wound roll. That's it. So you can't reroll your hit rolls, which means, as a Death Guard player, -2 to hit actually becomes pretty brutal to shutting down melee units, because obviously now they're going to be hitting on some like 5s with no rerolls. Whereas before,
dice pool's gone.
Because 5s rerolling is actually just on average about between a 3 and a 4 to hit. So it actually wasn't that big of a deal if you hit on 5s and you've got full rerolls. But hitting on 5s with no rerolls is a huge cut in power. So this unit is doing way less damage with just the reroll wounds. It's still a good stratagem. 1 command point to reroll all your wounds is still very good, but nowhere near as ridiculous as it was. And this is, again, remember, this is in combination with the mark change up here, so they can't get in Nurgle Rhinos. And even if they could, it's only 18-inch loan up, so it's all different layers. You can see the layers of nerfs just stacking up, and we ain't even done.
It's good to remember though as well, just for people who haven't played Chaos Space Marines. Abaddon might start to make a resurgence. He does have an aura where he gives anything within 6 inches a full reroll. So it's not that the rerolls have gone; they're just harder to get, which balances the game basically, because it's like everyone else. You don't just get this thing really easily. So they're going to have to sort of like, play a bit harder basically.
Well, also you're going to have to spend more up front to get that functionality, aren't you?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I think Chaos Space Marines, I think they're like Eldar. I think the book it's a very deep codex.
Yeah.
And I think there is still some good combos in there. So I don't think they're going to completely fall off the meta, but maybe now like solid B tier instead of like sort of a top of A, sort of bottom of S kind of
One
thing.
thing
So
I would say,
I think Chaos Space Marine players have still got play if they're a good player and they're committed to the faction.
they've got the book soon as well. We know that one of the books
Yeah.
upcoming, so it's not going to be.
Yeah.
It might be a bit of a grim couple months, like 2-3 months for them. Hopefully, your book comes out fairly soon, and then you get to like a more better state overall. But it's not great. Just quickly in chat, best podcast in the world. Don't we know it? Only messing. Thank you very much for the compliment. I've been told 6 inches is bigger than I realised, but not when playing 40k. I understand, Geek Abaddon.
Draw it, as like Will said, just draw it in a circle or move it in a circle and it'll look bigger.
There you go. That's what she said. So someone had to say that.
Yeah, me. CSM players are in shambles. Yep, pretty much. It's not great for them. Then they also got a cursed cultist kind of taken out back and shot as well. I'm fine with this. They were kind of annoying, obnoxious unit. They've gone OC1 instead of 2, which is great because Poxlock is only OC1. They should be the same. They no longer regenerate models in both players' command phase, which is, again, how it should have been in the first place. But all these things stacked on top of points increases what we'll see. Pretty rough time to be a Chaos Space Marine player.
That army for me was worse than playing Eldari.
I agree. I actually agree.
I agree with what you guys saying that there was bad to play. I don't think Chaos Space Marines is a dumpster fire. I honestly think they're still solid B tier. I think if you've got a deep collection and you're not like precious about playing certain units, there's still things in that index that are good. And I still think, because you haven't seen Obliterators for quite a while, and I know there's some points changes and things, but there's still stuff in there that's good. And I still think that good players will get good results. Maybe they're like a 4-1 faction in the hands of a skilled player rather than someone who gets a forward stand that is pushing for the 5-0 and things. But I definitely don't think they're a dumpster fire. I don't think they've custoded them where they've put them from the top right to the very bottom. I think they're finishing B tier, rather than being a dumpster fire. But again, if you've got a deep collection and you're able to pivot quickly, I know some people who just jumped on the faction and just bought specific models to play certain lists. Maybe for them it's it's a sad time because the models that they've got.
For the individuals that may have just started Chaos Space Marines, went out and bought 36 Accursed Cultists and 15 Chosen and a Chaos Lord, all I'm going to say is, suck it.
Oh, harsh.
No, do you know what though? If you've literally just watched the stream, seen one army, one list decimate something, and just bought that list, then I come kind of with you. I think if you're going to be a
you've got to start a faction somewhere though.
Yeah, if you're going to be a CSM player,
depends how you start him.
If you're going to be a meta chaser though, you've got to take the meta chaser risk, which is eventually you're going to get nerfed.
Which is the GW house always wins.
True.
GW always wins at the end. But yeah, so we'll carry on. The best faction in the game, Death Guard. So just very quickly, all this top bit we already knew. This red here to say characteristics modified is just clarifying that these here are characteristic modifications, which is fine. The biologist putrefier, so he had his moment. We had his moment. So the big change here is that basically we can no longer spam 4 grenades in a single turn. Probably shouldn't have been able to in the first place, but by God was it funny.
But we did do it for a while.
There's no greater joy than killing 3 Redemptors in a turn because you threw 4 grenades in Typhus' mortal wound ability. So does this hurt? Yes. Is it game breaking? No.
No.
The biologist putrefier is still amazing. You're still going to run 1, 2, maybe. I just don't know if you go the whole hog of 3. You probably still do if you're running lots of Plague Marines because the grenade was kind of like the icing on the cake.
Yeah, 5s and 6s lethals all day long, 50 points. Yes, please.
100%.
I still think you might still see 3 to be honest, because you forget about the weapons profile adds to the squads and the lethals on 5s. It's still big. I mean, I've never once in any of the games I've played got all 3 out, threw all 3 and then played. I think the most I've ever done is 2, and even then it's happened hardly ever, to be fair. I find the lethals on 5s is the main reason I'm taking them now.
Yeah, totally.
So I don't know. I mean,
That's the cool reason.
I'm going to keep 3 in my list, I think. But I mean, I suppose there's a roundtable discussion. I mean, because you can still throw the grenades, can't you? And then spend a CP for the squad. So you still get 2
Yeah.
activations. Like 12 dice for 1 CP, 4 plus immortals. It's still pretty
Yeah, 6
pretty
mortals.
fucking good.
Yeah.
Especially for 100. I mean, you know, I'm sure people at least know the Death Guard points. You know, so it's still only 140 points for that plus everything else. I'm still thinking 3, to be honest. Like, I think if he'd have gone up in points as well as the Plague Marines, yeah, maybe just 1 or 2, but I'm still thinking 3,
Yeah,
personally.
I think the fact that he didn't go up in points is a bloody miracle. I was told expecting this guy to go for like 60, 65. The fact he hasn't means I don't care about this nerf. Like you said, it was rare that you chucked that many in a turn anyway. It was funny that you could, because it meant like if someone put a Yinkan in your lines, you could just dome it instantly. But
Yeah.
I think, like, you know, I still think you're going to be taking 2 of these guys, at least. Because it's not just
They've
the
got
fact
Plague
that...
Marines, they're coming.
Yeah, it's not just the lethal hits. It's the lethal hits on 5s. It's the fact you can synergize it with Sanguineous Flux. It's the fact it gives you assault weapon and
Assault,
a pistol,
yeah.
so you can always do your actions that you need to do. He's just a great unit. Now the question is, do you still put him in a 5-man? Because the utility in the 5-man was the fact you could like steal grenade and stuff, and you know, do multiple grenades without sacrificing full 10-mans. Don't know about that. If you're taking 10-mans, definitely still 100% auto include this guy. The question is, do we still take him in 5-mans, which I think is a bit more of a discussion.
So I think you do, but I've said this on my solo series just recently. I think if you put him in 5-man, I already thought this, you put all 5-man, all combat, because I don't think you roll enough dice on the shooting weapons to prop the 5s and it'd be worth it. I think if you put him with 2 plague heavy weapons, heavy weapon on the champion, and then the 2 bubonic weapons. Thank you very much to the guy in the chat who told me that, by the way. I told myself I wouldn't forget on my video. So it's enough dice where the 5's exploding and auto wounding. I actually think it's still worth it. But I do think if you're going to put them with 5, you've got to go all combat to make it worthwhile. If you're going to have a utility 5-man Plague Marine squad, yeah, don't bother. That's my personal opinion anyway.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one because I've never taken a 5-man. I've never taken anything smaller than a 7. I don't think personally for me, but I know we all play differently, which is great about us. Is I don't find that unit is tough enough to do anything. As a 5-man even with melee, I personally am if I take them, it's a 7 or a 10 all melee and then he's an auto include every single time in there, primarily for the lethals on 5s and 6s.
I think that's also fair. I mean, for me, I think the 5-man, but I never expect them to live. You have to. For me, they're still just trading on objective. They're still just going in, and generally they're finishing something off. It's big. So, say for example, 2 predators shoot, say to Redemptor. The Redemptor's left on 5 wounds. I trust those 5 guys with the lethal hits on 5s and the CP to explode. I trust that they'll have a good chance of finishing him, for example. But you are right. I wouldn't just like charge him into say like 5 men with the attached character into like say 6 race and expect the race to like die. I just that's mental, stuff like that. So I think we've all got different roles and uses. So I don't know about you, Aidan. Are you sort of, is he out for you then unless it's a 10-man squad or?
I definitely take a 10-man. 7-man, I'd actually still probably take him. But Austin does make a great point in chat. We'll go through chat message in a second. There's quite a few questions.
Austin this is a good point too.
Two 5-mans in a Rhino, one of them with a Pilot or just Putrefied, does mean that if both units disembark, they can do the double grenade, which is actually quite a good reason to take 2 5-mans because you can get a double activation of grenades out of a single Rhino, which is quite cool. So actually, yeah. Still, to be honest, I think there's probably an argument still for 5-man, 7 and 10-mans. I think they're just still really good in general. Now we've got thank you very much, Brandon, for the super chat there as well. We've got Robert Pierce asking, with Assault, can you grenade strat and then do an action? So even without Assault, you can still grenade an action because all action cares about is you haven't shot, and throwing a grenade isn't shooting. The grenade stratagem anyway. He does have a weapon that is a hyperblight grenade. That is an actual shooting attack. If you shoot that weapon, you can't action because that's actually a shooting attack. So we had to make a distinction between his grenade weapon and the grenade stratagem, which is kind of confusing and a bit annoying. Is there a reason nobody's talking about 7-man? So yeah, we just obviously fellas just touched on 7-mans there. I think 7-mans are still good, still usable, and with the points increase, could we see like 7-mans becoming the 10-man? 10-mans becoming 7-mans to sort of offset the points difference? That's a possibility. Again, if you go in full melee, even in a 7-man, you can get 2 bubonics, 2 heavy plague weapons. That's 5 melee weapons still.
champion.
I
Yeah.
think you need the 10-man, to be honest. If you want it to be like an absolute hammer, because of the break point on getting the extra heavy sort of combat
Yeah.
weapons,
To get 5
I
each,
think you need the 10 for that. But I think that's like the one unit that you go for. That I think like we all seem to agree. If you want the utility, then you're talking 5s and 7s.
Yeah.
But 7 is definitely the most value for money because it's where the cheapest individually.
Yeah.
And you can do what I'm saying, where you take the 5 combat guys and then you still get your 2 sort of, say another plasma gun or plague spit or whatever you want to put in there. I do think Dave's right with that, but I think it all comes down really what else is in the list and what the plague means role. I think is that's where you make the decision.
And it does, and also just that chat just throws up as well. But what you could do is if you run 2 rhinos and you stick a 10-man in one, and you're like, that's going to be like to Will's point, your hammer. You could stick another rhino on there with 2 smaller squads, carrot attached on each, and then you actually got your double grenade strat as well if you need to pop it out, and you've got trading.
Yeah, I do think there is a use for every single squad. So then we got, what do you think of taking the Icon Bearer in a 5-man Plague Marine? The Icon Bearer is weird. The Icon Bearer is not bad, but he's never kind of felt needed. Contagion spreading isn't the worst. It's not as hard as you think when you start taking stuff like rhinos, especially now with bloat drones, which we'll get onto. But the Icon Bearer, he can do like one cool thing once a game.
Once a game, that's a problem.
And then he dies. And because we're already taking a lot of characters, he's also assassinate points for free for him to do his thing. And the OC, to make them OC 15, honestly, if Plague Marines are like charging onto a point, they're going to probably kill the chaff that's on it and out OC it anyway without the Icon Bearer.
Yeah.
And if you still aren't out OCing it, then you're probably against something like Horde Gaunts, or it's a massive brick of a unit that they weren't killing anyway. So he's just kind of weird.
It goes back to Dave's point as well with the OC. Why buy a guy to get an extra OC on your 5 guys when you could just buy 2 more guys and have a 7-man squad? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you get more from doing that because then the extra 2 guys might kill the extra guys for their 4 OC from the 2 guys to mean something. So I think it's more reliable. If you've got the points, just turn your 5-man into a 7-man before you add the banner in my personal opinion. But of course, if you've got that awkward 45 points at the end of the list and you don't want another squad of Nurglings, then go for him. But he feels that annoying point, that annoying price break if you don't have the extra 5 for 50, to get cultists or whatever.
I think even if you made his ability 9 inches and always on, it still doesn't make it worthwhile having, because by the time you're getting the units into play or you're getting them out of a rhino or whatever, you're already 1 turn probably away from having that as a standard range in all your units anyway. So to Will's point, you just stick a 7-man and get to a place where you've got 9 on all those utility units anyway. But Liam in chat makes a good point saying, I hope the bearer goes back to being a unit upgrade in the codex, which would make a lot more sense to just change one of your guys to a bearer in a unit.
Yeah.
Right, so and then another thank you again for the super chat there. PBC's at 180. I'm still taking 3. I still think they're fine at that. Again, we'll talk to that when we get to the points a bit more. Night Spinners at 210. Lol. Yeah, screw Night Spinners. Okay, so Deathwatch, don't care. Nothing's changed. Still awful. Drakari got a change that when they spend a pain token in melee, they get to increase the AP of that attack by 1. Archons can also join Incubi. This is a nice buff to their melee. The main thing about Drakari, and a lot of people don't even know this, they actually got a new detachment, like an entire new detachment.
I was going to say.
If you go to the Drakari index and download it, they have 2 detachments now. And the new one is good. It's really good. Now, we might have to do a breakdown at another time, because to break down an entire detachment will take like
100%.
Too long. But just going to say, if it's as good as it looks, we're probably going to start seeing some Drakari again, which is not bad for us because we have so many flamers and ways to murder these dudes, so we are good with that. So Drakari becoming good isn't bad for us. We're happy with that, okay?
Yeah.
So Genie Steel Cults, same, nothing's changed there. Grey Knight's got some weird changes. They just basically got the Nemesis Dread Knight, got his weapons fixed, and his side cannon got actually buffed. He actually learnt to swing his weapon better than a normal Dread Knight, so that's quite cool. So we're happy with that. So, yep. Cool. Imperial Knights, they can now reroll 1 hit roll and 1 wound roll, not just 1 hit roll of 1 and 1 wound roll of 1. So it gets to just pick and choose. That's cute. Didn't get Oath Bondsman's back, which is quite interesting. I thought they would have got that back, but not a problem. Happy with that. It's a small change. Probably going to see some Knights again, which is a bit annoying, but yeah, hey ho. Space Wolves
I
got
don't
some
know.
changes.
Go on, Will.
No, as you can see with the Imperium, I don't think we're going to see them. We'll see more of them, but I think the points weren't enough, to be honest. I think Imperial Knights, it's the points that stop them from being usable. But we'll come to that.
Yeah, Space Wolf Saga's just a bit easy to complete. World Eaters, the Berserker Glaive got actually gutted. Again, this is an army that kind of got big hits, which just sucks because we actually weren't that bad. We were pretty good against World Eaters, so for them to get nerfed is actually kind of sad for us. Favourite of Khorne, again, so basically two of their enhancements got entirely gutted, and their Demon Prince gives now a worse invul now.
The Favourite of Khorne one's probably worth just stopping on because that's a massive deal for them. Basically.
Yeah, so
that one's huge.
So basically, they used to be able to. So they used to be able to re-roll their, as long as the guy was alive, they could re-roll their blood dice every turn. Now it's only once per game they can do it, which means like the chance of getting sort of like anger on back, and it also means the chances of getting the buffs they need are a lot lower, so they might not always get +2 move on first turn.
You could argue it's a loss of 50% efficiency across the game.
100%. You could see someone pick this dice up, and you could see your opponent across the table, right? You could just imagine it, can't you? Being like, please go, give me a good roll, and they drop those dice, and their face would just be like, well, I'm screwed now.
Yeah, and now they can't roll. Well, they can do it once per game, so it's still not bad.
Yeah. But let's say you do that right at the beginning, right? Let's say you drop the dice right at the beginning, right? And then you're like, and now I'm going to re-roll it, and that goes wrong, and you know you've got 5 turns into something that's you can't do anything about it.
So it is that's because I think if people have sort of followed some hot takes online before they've come to us, that they'll have heard that World Eaters are one of the armies that have come out the worst out of this, and it's changes like that because it was such a big deal to how their army functioned that's one of the reasons why they're a little bit sad off the back of this data slate. Whether they're dead or not, we don't know. You know, people like Anthony Vanilla and people who are really good. You know, their faction specialists will probably pivot, and we'll see what they come up with. But certainly on the face of it, they're playing an uphill battle now compared to where they were.
Guys, just a flag. There's 145 people watching, so thank you everyone for taking your time.
Thank you very much, guys. So now everyone in chat is saying get to the Death Guard stuff because they want to talk. So I think what we'll do is we'll start at Adeptus Custodes, then we'll go to the bottom, and eventually we'll make our.
We'll draw.
Let's do the Death Guard points because we talked about this. We'll do Death Guard points, and we'll do the allied stuff.
Yeah.
Then probably we'll do the designers commentary. And then afterwards we'll do some kind of like maybe just highlight some of the armies where their points have been meaningful. That's probably a good way.
I just got to quickly do this for the guys on stream just because remember how I said they wanted to really kill Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines? Look at this. Oof.
Look at this.
Oof.
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 But Aiden, there's one ray of light on there, which is the Khorne Lord of Skulls has gone down.
That is true. Do you know what made me laugh? This was a meta.
It's only 450 points now, so that makes up for everything.
What made me laugh is a lot of these things like meta picks, like Forgery and Chaos Lord of Kiss, and they were just like, you know what, I have Zinch, fuck you.
Yeah, no one else seems to have been hit in the enhancements except them.
So we're gonna pour one out for them, but let's get into the meat and potatoes here. So the actual Death Guard changes. So we don't actually have too many. Do you want to start with the point increases, or should we just go across as we go across and talk about
do the points increase? I mean, it's not that there's many, and we can kind of talk whether we think it's justified or whether we'll still see the units or not. It's probably a good point to stop on each unit and sort of share our opinions and whether let chat maybe chime in as well if they agree or disagree, have any thoughts that we might have missed.
Yeah, so first things first, Plague Marines, they have gone up indeed, 2 points per model, so now it's 90 points for 5 instead of 80, 180 for 10, and then 125 for the 7-man.
By the way, I blame Will.
I blame Will for this.
That's my fault.
Will basically,
I did call
for this to happen last week.
I didn't wish, but I thought it would be likely. I wish it hadn't happened because my list has got to find some points now, as I think a lot of people's do. But I think it's fair. I mean, when you compare them to any other, one, because they have so much utility within the weapons. 2, because contagions sort of, always affect them because if it's combat, for example, you're always in the contagion, you get +1 toughness. I know we're 1 slower. We are still a power armoured unit. Yeah. Why we were so much cheaper than everyone else, outside of sort of the fact that we're a weaker faction, it did seem fair. I mean, 90 points, I think, is probably still cheap, but I think it's fair. If other factions are looking at us from a distance and they're kind of like judging them the same way that judging us the same way we've been judging them, I feel like
yeah,
if they look at that, I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
everyone's going, that's fair. If anything, no, it should be 100. It might even be what some people are saying.
Will,
Other power armored
shut the fuck up,
factions.
Will.
Shut
Shut
up,
the fuck
shut
up.
up.
That's it, yeah.
GW are
Hang my head in
listening. They
shame.
watch all this stuff.
That's it, yeah.
But yeah, so Plague Marines have gone up. Overall, does this kill Plague Marines? No. Plague Marines are still great. They're still really cheap for the amount of special weapons they bring.
Yeah.
Again, like Intercessors, this is like still less than Intercessors were. Like obviously Intercessors are now 80, so they swap points kind of. But 90 is honestly more than fair because of all the special weapons we get. So I'm more than happy with this. Obviously, it will impact our lists, and we'll have to obviously make cuts somewhere. But overall, I think still keeping Plague Marines at less than 20 points a model is a steal.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
still be really happy with this, guys. Like, it is an increase. We kind of saw it coming. Plague Marines probably shouldn't be 80 points for 5. They probably shouldn't be 90 points for 5. But while they are, we're definitely going to be
Shut
happy.
up as well.
Yeah. And the good thing about Plague Marines is... The one good thing about Plague Marines is the models that make them work didn't really go up. So obviously the Badge Creature got a small nerf with his grenade strap, but his points didn't go up, which is important. The Foul Blightspawn points didn't go up, and more importantly than that, the Plague Surgeon didn't go down.
What is it? How long have we? How many like iterations of 40k do we have to not play him for GW to bring him down in points?
He was good at the end of 8th in the Psychic Awakening. Let's give him his due. He was one of the auto-include units for a brief moment.
5 years ago.
And only for about 3 months because we were the last Psychic Awakening, one of the first Codex, which made me sad at the time.
Serious note though, on an actual good note, now, in order for the Plague Surgeon to get his value back, he only has to revive for 4 turns instead of 5.
Oh, awesome.
Value.
Great.
Brilliant
unit.
I'm sold.
Yep, 100% meta. But overall, Plague Marines are still going to be your bread and butter. You're still going to be taking them. I think all the size units are viable. Again, just understand obviously that you're risking 20 more points in a 10-man unit, 10 more in a 5, but overall they still uptrade really well. And I wouldn't think this is the death of Plague Marines. I've seen some people.
It's basically enhanced. It's basically. I don't know about you guys, but I've always got to the end of like a list build. Well, I say not always, but very frequently and gone. I've got 10, 15 points kicking around. So
I had the drone in my list. I ain't taking the fucking drone in for the drone in. I just had 15 points spare, and I still had 5 points, so I've got 20 points now. So that is already there. Yeah, there's unit Plague Marines like sorted there straight away. So that's quite cool. Yes, we did spread the sickness. Don't worry, we're going to get to that one, buddy. And then the other nerf we got, so we'll touch on it, is obviously the Plague Burst Crawler. So all indirect models kind of went up.
Yeah.
180 points is actually the original cost of Plague Burst
Yeah.
Crawler. What do we think about PBCs, guys?
Go on, I'll let you guys start because I feel like I'm going to go good in the direction.
Also-
Will's going to say he thought they should be 200.
Just because I saw him in the chat, this one's for you, Brian.
Okay, I'll start on this one. So I said on our last podcast that I kind of built a list after Leicester and was like, so after Nottingham was like, oh, I actually want to put some back in. I probably will again now, even at 180. I think for the utility of causing battle shock, the mortar, the 48-inch range, either a flame, 2 flamers, anti-infantry 2 up on my backfield, or another pair of entry cannons and a higher OC unit, toughness 2 up. 5 up invuln to push out into the field like turn 3. I'm not upset. It's the same price it was back then. When it went down, we were all dancing around our hats like celebrating. So I'm alright with it personally.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm still okay with these guys at 180, and now I think it makes the decision between these and Predators a bit more interesting as well, though.
Yeah.
Predators looking pretty good now. Predators real cheap. Especially Destructors, which are also going to be really good at killing Wraithguard and stuff, if you see any. But Indirect is still an incredibly powerful tool. We still have units in our army, one of which we're going to talk about. But Lord of Virulence, for example, has gone down in points, as you can see on the screen. He's good at buffing them. And just Indirect itself is just extremely powerful. And the fact that we can get to like -2 and ignores cover with like Contagion plus like abilities that like Bioblight to ignore cover. It's really good, and they still come with an amazing, I love the Flamer variant of the tank. I think Plague Spitters are fantastic. Great for watching your home objective. Any cheeky 3-inch deep strikers, they just don't want to go near the damn thing. And the Slugger honestly rips more wounds off than it should ever do.
Slugger does all the work.
I don't know what it is with that slugger. Entropies are still kind of crap. I think this makes me want to take the Flamers War, but just because I want to get the value out of it. And I could see people maybe dropping to 2, but I still don't really think you do that. I think even with the points increase, 3 is still like really good. And it's just the thing is, the Plague Burst Crawl is not just a indirect shoot. It's a tempo setter for the game. It makes the opponent have to come to us as Death Guard because we're just going to rain mortars on you all the time. And the fact that we control that tempo by having the mortars means that the opponent has to come to us, which kind of offsets our mobility issues. If we don't have a way to affect the board and impact the board from safety, the opponent doesn't have to, interact with us really, so they can just sit around, dance around us quite happily. So I'm actually probably still going to run 3, I won't lie. I just really like the utility. But because they're so expensive now, I might put some points into supporting them. So like I have a lot of Contagion, 80 points. Might swap him back to Lord of Virulence now because he's also 80 points, because he's going to buff and get more efficiency out of those now more expensive units. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, or you could look at it. It's just a sort of.
Let's open the gate and let Will loose now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it could also be a bottomless pit if I'm spending more points than I wouldn't on this unit, and I'm going to spend more points on that. Oh, and then I've got this, I just throw Mortarion as well, and then you're back to 1,000 points to make 3 Plague Burst Crawlers work, whereas I'm on the other side of this. I take them out. Whenever I take them out, I always think I need to put them back in. I put them back in, and I'm just instantly underwhelmed. Like, they never do enough for me to justify the points. I'd rather have Predators and more stuff that does things. Like, I think the mortar's good, but -1, like the AP generally doesn't do anything. Generally, people are still in a 2+ or a 3+ save, and then by the time you've got them in Contagion, the unit that's got them in Contagion, at least in my list, generally is enough to like damage them or kill them. So I'm not shooting them with a Plague Burst Mortar anyway, because I'm just extending a charge out that then becomes longer. And then when I get in the unit I'm trying to kill them with, just kills them anyway. So I found them, they're good. Like, I've got one in at the moment, and it's like chip damage, and he kind of looks after my home field. But I don't think at all that they're essential. And I think for me, I was already running Predators over them. I think Predators just won the conversation for me. But I still think 1 or 2, and I think if you're buffing them, it's right. Don't get me wrong. There's no right or wrong with this. And the lists that do better than mine do generally run them, so my opinion isn't the be all and end all, as we know. But I also think it's a lot of points for something that can just be very yeah. Like, so
yeah, I know what you mean. I've been running Predators a lot of 10th now, and I think with what we'll talk about a bit with Morty, that also becomes really interesting for them. But the PPC still, though, like, we all play tournaments, right? You play a Purge to Foe mission or something like that, or to pick up something on a screening or on a home objective. Nothing does that like a PPC does. To just get you that kill, in turn 1 of a Purge to Foe game to get you kill and kill more, or to punch a hole in someone's screen and then drop something in. But I agree. But Will, I totally get you. It's not an essential anymore at 165 like it was.
Yeah, I think it's a play style. So I think
Yeah.
I think now the conversation comes down to, whereas before, I think there was a point, especially at the start of the edition, it seemed like the only way to play Death Guard was play Burst Callers, and I think then obviously the last points change kind of opened up different list builds. And I think now more than ever we're back to multiple different list builds with Plague Burst Callers being maybe more on a par with the other builds in terms of, like, where the ceiling is. But I think it'll be interesting to see where things unfold. And if the meta does go very infantry or very 4+ save infantry, or light armored infantry or whatever, then yes, of course, Plague Burst Callers are going to be essential. So I think maybe it's even a meta choice as well.
Yeah.
For example, if Custodes become dominant, which we'll talk about some other arms. If that happens, Plague Burst Callers, if you can shoot them with the Spitters, obviously they're useful, but the Mortars do nothing. So I think it's just going to be. I think we've got to wait and see. But obviously, if Drakari become a menace, then yeah, Plague Burst Callers are money. So I think there's arguments 2 and 4.
It's a good change for internal balance. I think it makes a lot of things less. You don't just start lists with 3 Plague Burst Crawlers. Like, it's an option now. I'm still be taking them. Also, when you said, like, you're either in Contagion range or you're not, and if you are, you're probably going to kill them or just make your charge worse. I can just imagine Don Houston's Hellbrute frowning at you from the corner. He's just like, "Hey mate, I can Contagion stuff from 36 inches away." But yeah, for people in chat wondering about the Mortarion change, we do know about the Mortarion change. We're going to talk about it. Probably just going to do the points, then we're going to talk about it because it is huge. It's very big. Morty's back at full power, baby. So that's really good. But for now, Plagueis Crawlers in general, still great unit. I think it opens up now, a bit more of the difference in like Predators being a lot cheaper. Like you can get Predator in a unit of Cultist now for a Plagueis Crawler, which is quite an interesting decision to make. Overall, fine with it though. I'm fine with it. I think it's still if you went to 200, too much. 180, it's still fine. So that's all our increases though. So let's talk about decreases. Typhus, what the hell?
Yeah, I wasn't running him.
No.
I don't know, because you thought he was going to go up, if anything. I don't understand why he's come down. He doesn't quite fit my list archetype, to be honest, but I'm sort of thinking, do I care, because he's so efficient?
He's so efficient.
Yeah, like, why is he 80 points? I have no idea.
I have said to everyone, Typhus should be in your list, because he's a tool. He's great. He's great for just dealing mortals. Kills low and ops. He can just go on his own, or he can go in a unit to stack -2 to hit if you're taking that contagion. It's a great tool to have. 100 points, I used to say he's absolutely auto include. I'd still take him at 115. And GW listened to me and was like, yes, -20, yes.
I thought he would go to 120.
I thought he'd go to 115. But the fact he's gone down to 80, I guess they just wanted all our lords to be like the same thing. I guess.
It's mad.
I guess. But
it's
yeah,
mad how they look at him though, and the Lord of Contagion, and think they're like the same.
Yeah, on par, right? The Lord of Contagion should be 60 points by this basis. If Typhus was the yardstick, like.
Yeah.
I can't.
I have no
fathom it.
idea. No, I don't get it either. Like, is it like a copy? I almost think it's like a copy paste. They're meant to put in the Lord of Contagion, or someone in the GWS who's never played Death Guard doesn't know actually which one's which. Just looked at pictures and then just couldn't work out which was which. Make them both 80. That way, I'm definitely safe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that -20 was intended for the Plague Surgeon, but he couldn't bring himself to do it, so he just slapped it on Typhus instead. He was just like, was like, if that was the button, if this is the button here for Plague Surgeon, he was like, and press Typhus instead.
Yeah, he's like, just can't do it.
It must always be shit. Typhus went from being, in my opinion, an auto-include to a, surprisingly, auto-include.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to. Like I say, my list. I'm going to drop my play burst score because my list goes up, and then I'm left with 80 points or 85 points afterwards. I was going to put a Beast in Urgling because I just wanted something to sit on the home field objective and just be sort of safe from things like Night Spinners. And I thought Beast in Urgle, because of his profile, he always respawns his wounds. He's harder to kill than Cultist. He's harder to kill, whatever. And then in the other instance, I want some utility. I could deep strike him, but now I'm like, do I just put Typhus in because he's so cheap? He doesn't benefit the list in any way, and I have to like think of, does it matter about screening my home? I just don't know. But 80 points, he's like. He might be the most point efficient character in the whole entire game now. Like, if someone can think of a cheaper, more efficient points character in any faction, put it in the comments, because I think he probably just went to number 1 at 80 points with all his abilities. Like, I honestly can't think of a better one. Even anyone who is a close second.
No, I'm stumped by this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to run 3 Typhus and just hope my opponent doesn't know the rules.
Yeah, there you go. No one knows what the Lord of Contagion Typhus looks like, so if you just tell them, they won't know.
That's true.
Yeah,
we've got, but yeah, Geek Hammer has a good point. So Typhus gets a 20-point drop, yet the Demon Princes, which are garbage and no one ever uses, just don't get anything. It's mind-blowing.
And the Hellboot. Why didn't the Hellboot come down? Like, the Hellboot's... I know, obviously, you mentioned that Don likes him, but he's one of the most overpointed units.
I think he's overpointed, but the thing is, with the Hellboot, it's expensive, and it's probably overcosted, but it can do something. The Demon Prince can't do anything. It's just bad. Like, flat out. It's, again, why is it toughness 11, but strength 8? Make it make sense, please.
Yeah. Do you know which unit flew under the radar as well? I don't really like the Source and Terminator. I think it's too much of a sort of once and done unit, but it's too cheap at 70. I've thought that a few times. In fact, that's still 70 is also quite a big deal, I think.
I think as a routine gambler on a Terminator and Sorcerer Lord, I'm very happy he stayed at 70.
Yeah, I play that. I play one of those at least.
Yeah, because the thing is, to me, the Death Guard Terminator and Sorcerer Armor is. I want to use the stratagem Disgusting Resilient, but I'm not paying 2 CP for that, and that's his job. The casino shots on top of it is like the bonus. But
he's also an absolute murderer of things like Drakari and stuff like that, or even their bikes and things, or like
Yeah.
at 24. The people also don't underestimate the range of his Witchfire attack as well. At 24 inches, it can reach surprisingly far.
yeah, flat free. Ooh, into those Custodes. Ooh. So yeah, he's we're happy with Typhus. Lord of Virulence dropping down to 80 as well from 100. Again, I'm okay with this. Like, I think this is fine for him. I don't think it was needed. But I'm not going to complain. I think it kind of offsets one of your Plague Burst Crawls straight up if you're taking
exactly.
him, which is fine. I actually have missed this guy recently because I missed the reroll wounds on the Flamers, which is really nice. So him to get cheaper makes him more appealing. He's probably about right. The Lord of Contagion being the smashier Lord, this guy being the this sprayier supporty Lord. I'm okay for this guy to be 80 points. Definitely not complaining. Did he need to go down? Maybe not, but I think this makes the decision a bit more tougher, or at least it would have until Typhus became 80 points as well, and then you're taking him anyway. So now it's you take Typhus, and then you take a Lord of Contagion or a Lord of Virulence, and I think that just comes down to, do you have any blast weapons? Because like people running Defilers, a lot of Americans really like Defilers because the meta is just more open the boards, like player placed a lot. And Defilers with Lord of Virulence and the -1 save contagion wreck shit. Like
It's even more. I think it's even more straightforward than that, right? Like if I look at the list I was starting to play, the early to mid part of 10th so far, when it was Typhus, a Lord of Virulence, and 3 Plague Burst Crawlers. If you took 2 Plague Burst Crawlers, Typhus, and Lord of Virulence, you've already balanced your points back out anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, great, good change. Happy with it. I think it just opens up build variety that I don't think it's broken or stupid like the Typhus changes, which I think is a bit silly, but it's good. It opens variety, which is again good for a balanced data slate. Brandon, we'll get onto your question now. 180 for a Plague Burst Crawler, or two Fetid Bloat Drones, because Fetid Bloat Drones have dropped down to 90 points each. This I didn't see coming. I saw Mephetic Blight Halls getting this. But apparently they decided no, bloat drones are worse, even though they're probably better. But this is actually a real big build opener. This 90 points for a bloat drone stat line is kind of crazy, and the fact that 90 points for I'm really looking at heavy blight launchers.
Heavy blight launchers all day long. I've got a squad of them set in my cupboard.
It's
36
so
inch
cheap.
range, 6 shots, strength 8, AP 2 damage.
It's so cheap for just a long range, can run around, can do actions, can just be annoying, can score some points while plinking away shots for 90 points.
Fullback shoot and charge.
What trades with that
fullback shoot and
effective?
charge is big.
It's massive.
What trades with a bloat drone effectively?
Fullback shoot and tank shot.
Yeah. I mean, I think
stupid.
My thing with bloat drones is the same, because we've talked about them before in previous episodes. I think when they went to 100, everyone got really excited and they're really good, and but it's just back to the same problem with me. What's their role? Like, because instantly we got excited about the heavy blight launcher, but it's like, well, still not as good as a predator. And I'd rather have 40 more points than a predator. I just think they've got a middling profile.
I think if you're going for a shooting platform, you go for the Predator, but I think the bloat drone's just like a big little versatile thing. Even with strat reserves, it's quite small. It can come in from anywhere it wants to. It's quite nice. You also got the fact it can just blink shots. It's the fallback shooting charge, so you can never stop it doing what it needs to do to score. And basically think the bloat drone itself being 90 points. It's a unit you can genuinely. If you look at an opponent and you're like, okay, they've got good anti-infantry but not great anti-tank. I could put out 5 Plague Marines on an objective, and they might die, but I could instead just throw out a bloat drone, and my opponent's going to have a pain in the ass deal with it. It's just super cheap for its stat line, and especially if you can spike in wounds on the anti-tank weapons, it can get pretty dumb.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think if you want shitty damage,
Predator. But I also think, like we talked about before, the mower isn't reliable in combat.
I'm not a mower fan.
No.
And then I think the heavy blight launcher is outdone by the Predator. I think the Spitters, for me, there might be one with Spitters, because I think it kind of plays a good bouncing game where it kind of sprays something, charges, falls back, sprays something, charges something that it knows isn't going to kill it, that it can kind of tie up and kind of use. It's good for sort of engaging all fronts and stuff like that and kind of getting around the board. But I don't know, I feel like they went down to 100 and everyone started running them and then dropped them because, like I say, I think their profile's just too middling. So I think it's a great thing, don't get me wrong, but I'll be interested to see if lists actually pick them up, or if it's just one of these, it's good to be part of the conversation, but does it actually make the final cut would be my curiosity.
Don, thank you for the super chat.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Don. Great. Said about sticky objective changes. Yeah, we'll get into the sticky objective changes. Like, I'm kind of annoyed about that, but it's a bit of a weird one. Hello, Joel in chat. Joel's a local person for us, so hello, Joel.
Oh, Joe.
But yeah, we'll get onto those sticky changes when we get into the core rules, because a lot of people I bet don't even know about that yet, but it's a bit of a weird one. What we'll do is, I think, so yeah, to finish off bloat drones, I think bloat drones are fantastic.
Yeah.
I think, again, 90, I think they were good at 100, but yeah, going down to 90 is wild. Yeah, Rob Pierce again. 4 spitters for 180 is great. Yep, exactly. And because they don't degrade. Also, do you remember they're one of our only sources of fly in the book, which means you can't screen this unit out with like forward deploy, scout moves and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is a good advantage of it, because like turn 1 gargoyle wall was very annoying. So the fact we can now fly over gargoyle wall with this and spray, it's a great utility. You just look at it and you look at the stat line and just go, how the hell is that 90 points? I don't care if it doesn't do that much. It's just really inefficient to kill.
I mean, I really wouldn't underestimate, having played it quite a few times now. Like, I need to do it. I haven't taken it to tournament because it was 100.
I'm just going to nip to the toilet, guys. Carry on the conversation. I'll be right back.
Of course.
I've taken it a lot in my to club and things like that, and the heavy blight launcher I found, just with a unit that can sit either on your home objective or whatever, and then just float around the sides of cover, picking off their infantry units that are trying to get onto points. It's so efficient, and you either damage it enough down to the fact that they're not out OCing you, or you obliterate it. And with your 36-inch range, you're always going to get cover, because you can always tuck a bit of it just by a building or whatever. And they're going to have to, often people have got to come forward to try and deal with it. And if they don't, it's just buzzing around, getting angles. And I found one of those really useful for it.
It's the 6 shots and hitting on 3s that kind of always puts me off them, in the sense of, see you shooting at the 5 say let's assist.
Yeah.
Standard power armor space means statistically you don't kill the squad, which is why I always sort of like find them a bit sort of like underwhelming. But it's the same with the flash mower.
You do probably battle shock it though.
Oh, do you get a battle shock when you hit?
No, as in their command phase, you've probably killed 3.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
So if there's just like a 5-man that's just trying to squirrel onto an objective, or they've got one model sticking out the side of cover or whatever, and you use that one as a target, I find you can often you get that. I know it's not always guaranteed, but there's that benefit too, to try and doing it. So yeah, it's now. I mean,
they're so cheap.
90.
You can.
Yeah, now it's 90. I might definitely give it a go, but.
Yeah, it's so cheap. You can put one in, you can try it, and you can. It's a throwaway unit, isn't it? You know, and I think you both make a very valid point, which I didn't take into account, is the fly. So it is harder to sort of like pin your deployment zone or whatever. So I think, you know, like I say, I've got 85 points to spend. If I had the extra 5, I was debating one double spitter mower just to stand on my home field, and then maybe late game start flying around and doing some stuff on the flanks.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So yeah, I did think that. So. I'm curious to see what happens to them. I can see people definitely testing them, but whether they're finishing people's final list after a few games, that's where I would be curious. But you know, this is one of these things where I'm maybe playing devil's advocate in some senses, because like I said, I did think about it myself.
The other thing with those is that they're, you know, you look at it and go, it's fast if you get onto a point quickly or whatever, but actually then you're going, but if I'm running rhinos, that's where they're going to be going anyway. So like, have I got room to park something else on there, or is it the redundancy afterwards? But like you say, I think we, as always, we need to start playtesting some of this stuff, and we need to see some reps out in the field and see what people do with it.
Yeah, I think just really quick in the chat, someone asked heavy blight launchers over spitters. I think both are great. I think it just depends on the job you want it for. Heavy blight launcher is great for sort of skits, like, you know, being a skirmish unit, keeping at range, plinking shots, doing some secondaries. The Blake spitter is more like a board control piece, threatening, you know, the Overwatch, etc. like that. Which is, you know, both are good units though. I even think that flesh mode is fine, but
do you know what would be good actually? Sorry, just to interject. I think 2 running flesh mowers that kind of double team and go up together. I think 2 flesh mowers double teaming a point, because it's 6 OT, 3 from each, and the 2 together, that's 24 dice. Or is it 24? Or is it 20? It's enough dice and enough OC that all of a sudden I think that's a threatening unit. And I think moving up the table is 180 points, sort of like clump. That actually, there might be something in that actually for me.
That's the thing. It's 180 points. That's it for 2 flesh mowers. They have to deal with that, and if they kill it, they've killed less than
20 dice, 10 attacks.
Yeah, it's less than 10% of your army. Yeah. It's nothing. Like, these are expendable, which is great.
That would work in a pressure build then if you put 2. Like I say, I think if you did the 2 turfs, you keep them as a unit, and they're like, even if they're going to charge something, they can sort of. I think there's something there. I think because you can sort of do charge tricks where you charge opposite ends of a unit and stuff to stop the fight, pile on the fight back. But if you make it so you can probably still fight. Anyway, I'm going down rabbit holes of what we could or couldn't do with bloat drones. I feel like maybe we should move on to the next unit. Otherwise, I'm going to keep us going all night.
Saltire Games, we are feeling pretty good about the data slate. I'm very optimistic. I'm looking forward to playing 40k again after quite a stalemate that it became. So I think they've done a really good job on it overall. Probably sad if you're chaos-based replay, but oh well. Very quickly, I just want to notice my new favourite thing to do with Plague Burst Crawlers, just to, again, a reason to bring them is if you're against like an Orc opponent and they've got Gretchen on the back home field and they've got Defend Stronghold. Defend Stronghold actually scores at the end of your opponent's turn. Do you know what's really funny? Shooting the Gretchen with a Plague Burst Crawler, making them do a Battle Shock test, they fail it, so they become OC0, and then they don't hold the home objective. So they fail Defend Stronghold, but then they have to keep it for an entire other turn. Because you can't draw it again. Because you've got to keep it. Which is quite funny.
That's smart.
So yeah, scummy, just hashtag just PVC things. Okay, and last but not least, Death Shroud Terminators went down. It's only, I think it's 5 points, isn't it?
5 points, yeah, but, from the 3.
Hey, 5 points down.
Yeah, but also then if you like like I do with them, if you then run the 6 and you save 10 points, and then you stick Typhus with them and you save another 20 points.
Yeah,
that's 30 to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Martin's got the idea, and then you do it again. Yes.
Yes.
Then you do it again. You keep shooting them.
So, should we move on then to look at maybe Chaos Knights and Nurgle Demons as sort of, because while we're looking at points, because this could be a good time to. Because I think the rest of Death Guard stuff stayed the same, didn't they? Unless any of the talking points that I've missed.
So very quickly,
the 3 big ones. Yeah, you're right. Chaos Knights. Also I think Drakari got a big load of points cuts across the board as well.
So Brigands went up. Death to the Brigand, don't care. Get out of my army, Brigands. So if you're running Brigands, it went up. If you're running Carnivores, net neutral.
We don't take them anyway.
Yeah, Carnivores. Whoop. Like
Will's first
Carnivores
question.
also.
Will's first question when I was like the DATASLATE drop was, how much are the Carnivores?
Yeah, I'm still running 3.
You love them.
I was going to say, because people forget they've got an outer line of sight gun as well, so the fact that you still get those 3d6 of outer line of sight shots, they add up more than you think sometimes. Like, it's one of the reasons why I'm less enthused about Plague Burst Crawlers sometimes, because they still chip away at like 10 guardsmen or something. Maybe don't really reliably kill it, but it's still something that's there, as a sort of like as a nice bonus on top of them hitting like freight trains, adding the fast movement that we don't have, and then just the OC on them's incredible. Yeah, so I'm amazed they didn't go up, to be fair. Like, I was well expecting to be 150.
Yeah. And then other ally change that really matters is Nurglings went up 5 points. You're still taking them. You're 100% taking Nurglings.
Yeah, you are.
With this as well, it's probably also worth mentioning the Great Unclean and Rotigus, because he went down a lot. Like, I don't necessarily think it's worth taking them as allies, but I mean, the points cuts are significant enough where they're like...
That's right.
They went down 30 points, 230 points.
I was impressed with Rotigus.
Sun went down 10 as well.
Yeah, I was impressed with Rotigus when I ran him. So I think if you were after a Great and Clean one, I think Rotigus is now actually really viable at 230. Again, you need some Nurglings though, just remember that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's things that the Death Guard stuff you take a long time, I think, before Rotigus, but I think he's not a flawed choice. Well, he's not as flawed a choice as he perhaps could have been previously at his new points, is what I would say.
Yeah,
it's just worth highlighting that.
Right. Just for time's sake, that's enough about points for now. Death Guard, other little thing, Blight Odds didn't go down. Honestly, I'm not surprised. I won't lie, points ain't saving that unit. They either make it stupidly way too efficient for a body, in which case it's still just a depressing unit, just really cheap. It needs a rules change, it's just not good. So the fact it didn't go down actually doesn't surprise me, because you can't really make Terminators cheaper than that. But at the same time, still ain't really taking them. Some people have success with them, but it ain't for me, Chief. Nothing else really changed. Surprised Halls didn't go down to 90 as well. But overall, on points changes, Typhus, what the fuck. Lord of Virulence, great. Bloat Drone, great. And even 5 points off a Death Shroud, Again, these are the 5 points that are going to make up your 10 points in your Plague Marines.
Yeah.
So overall net neutral. Right. Let's get to the meat and taters. So there is two things that we need to cover in this rules commentary.
Yeah.
So before we get into Morty, there's a weird one that we need to cover, which is here, this objective marker. So where is it at? So basically they changed some. I will find it. So previously what happened is if you stickied an objective, your opponent couldn't. Let me close a second. Let me get rid of all this stuff. Your opponent couldn't control the objective, which means that if you were stood on it and you got charged by a unit of custodians that has a rule that if they control an objective, they get to make reroll wounds or something like that. Now normally that wouldn't work because they can't take the objective off us until the end of the turn, even if they have a million OC because of how sticky objectives work. But now Games Workshop have ruled it that even though we don't lose control, both armies can control it at the same time. So we control it, but they also control it, which makes no goddamn sense to me.
No.
But it does mean that basically the little plays you can do around sticky objectives in stopping things getting certain bonuses for being on objective to control now no longer work, which is is somewhat upsetting. It's probably not going to really matter too much because it's quite niche anyway, but it does matter because it does mean like if someone does have rules like that, especially with Custodes being buffed again, we might see them again. The Custodian Guard have a rule like that. So just be aware that you aren't safe from those rules anymore by standing on a sticky objective.
Yeah,
your opponent it's weird.
There's a couple of buffing interactions there as well, because demons have the rule where they'd sticky it to stop us from sticking it because they'd sticky it first, so now we can both sticky it. So basically, to simplify it though, just to simplify, only one unit can score off it in a command phase, but 2 units throughout the course of a turn can use it to like buff things, to trigger things. So that's the simple. So like if you're triggered by holding objective at the start of the turn, that's still triggered, even if you held it at the start of the turn, even if say another unit charged onto it and they say if you control this objective at any point in the turn, their unit triggers. So you both get your benefits basically. So that's kind of like the way it works. So it is weird, but it's just I don't know.
My big disagreement with this ruling,
really.
is that if you have something that makes an objective sticky, and you are contesting it, that the fact that it's like sticky, it's a bit like having fight first, right?
There we go.
That supersedes the contestedness. If you both have got equal OC on a point, okay, I can get that. But if you've stickied it and you have an equal amount of OC on it, it feels like those two things stacking should put it in your favour.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, then we get back to this place, right, of going, you have this rule that does this, but it doesn't matter in this situation. And in our case, it's our detachment rule. It's actually negated by just having an equal amount of OC on it.
I have found it, by the way.
I think that's the feel bad bit of it a little bit.
So this is a bit that matters.
It's still niche, but
regardless of how these worlds have ruled it, control objective marker is determined at the end of each phase and turn. So while you retain control on objective marker affected by this ability, even if you have no models within range of it, at the end of a phase of a turn, your opponent can gain control of the objective marker. So you don't lose control of it, but they can also gain control of it. So you both control it. Okay.
GW, you can both control it. What are you talking about?
It doesn't make any sense. This here as well, one-shot weapons can't be fired with firing deck. That's not really too thingy for us, but screw demo charges. They actually can't use them at all anymore.
So what's the definition of a one-shot weapon then?
Anything that's like, we don't have any. It's
What's
like
the game?
hunter killer missile stuff like that. We don't have them.
Oh, right, I think the one shot is in like a plasma gun fires one shot.
No, it means like
caveat, if you
literal.
rapid fire is that too. Right, yeah.
So then we have to find the most important one for us. Oh, this is quite an interesting one actually. When you disembark, it's up here somewhere. When you disembark a transport, they've clarified that does not count as having made a move. Even though it says you count as having, they put a difference in between actually making a normal move and counting as making a normal move. So when you get out of a transport, you count as having made a normal move, but you haven't made a move, which means anyone that has rules, like Space Marines who can move d6 inches away if you move within 9 of them, can't trigger them. So what you can do is you can get your Rhino park at 9.01 millimeters away, disembark
Get
3
out.
inches in, so you got a 6-inch charge, and they can't use any rule to run away from that in the movement phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
so
I mean, that was already there, I think, but if they
It was.
if they
It
give
wasn't.
more
It was
clarity-
only there for the WCW ruling.
Yeah.
But now it's actually an official
right,
rule.
Yeah.
So that's quite funny. So if you are worried about someone like Termagants, moving away from you or
Running
something like
away
that,
from you, yeah.
just park 9.01 away, disembark to 6 inches, and then enjoy your 6-inch charge where they can't react to it. Kind of funny. There you go.
Yeah, it's cool. I didn't realise that was just put in for that one WCW event. I thought
Yeah.
that was already an FAQ, so I'd already been playing it as a rule. Actually, it hadn't come up with more than one instance, but I'm glad to know that now is an official rule, because I might have got you someone when I did that at the local club night. So I argued hard that was how it worked when it obviously didn't. So apologies to this nameless person. I'll buy a drink next time I see them.
Here we go. Here's the big one though.
Bottom of page
Ignoring
19.
modifiers. So
Yeah.
the Will, they have confirmed, by the way, you can jump out of reserve transports that come in from a board edge. So that's the thing, but you do have to stay 9 inches away, so you can't get out.
You can't assault ramp.
Yeah, you can't bring in a Land Raider from reserves and then get out close to the opponent. You still have to be 9 inches away, but
Can
you
you
can.
still get in? Because that was my trick.
No.
Putting the Rhino,
No,
so it was
you-
within 6.
You can't get in because by the reserves phase, you can't finish a normal movement range of it, so you can't get in.
Oh,
Sorry.
well, fair play.
But yeah, big one, big one. Let me. Okay, nice and big. Okay, ignoring modifiers. This is strange because the WCW ruling, which was by the GW rules team, decided to nerf Mortarion, and that's been the case in the UK, where anything that lets you ignore modifiers only worked on the stat line, which was movement, OC, wounds, etc. However, they have now clarified when an ability allows you to ignore modifiers to a unit or model's characteristics, unless specifically stated otherwise, this allows you to ignore modifiers to the following characteristics: move, toughness, save, wounds, leadership, OC. We knew that. For the models and range, attacks, ballistic skill, weapon skill, strength, armor pen, and damage. Now that was the bit that was contentious. However, now they
it
have
was.
confirmed you can ignore all modifiers to all of this, which means
Everything.
we can say this now. I was right.
They played it that way at the LVO, didn't they, as well? I noticed.
Yeah, they did.
I saw someone, I think it was Hexfeet Vivalis, because I follow him on Facebook, and I think he was talking about he'd done all right there, and I think I noticed in some of the comments, I think he was saying that they played it like that at LVO.
just
So
to-
it's
just to
interesting then
clarify
that
real
they've actually
quick.
brought that back.
Yeah, I know it wasn't the GW rules team. It was the GW events team, which is different. It is different technically, but hopefully you would like to assume those things can actually talk to each other. Apparently that was a step too far. However, they have clarified now that this is the way it's
you need to
supposed to
take
be.
Mortarion.
Yes. So what this means is Mortarion is back to supercharged Mortarion, which means his aura
Auto-include.
of ignore modifiers now affects damage reduction. So what's that army that didn't just get nerfed and it's actually really good at the moment? What are they called, Dave?
Necrons.
Well, that's it. Yeah. What are they? What are those annoying units they keep running at the moment?
I think they're called Satan, are they?
Oh yeah. What's that weird rule they have that makes them hard to kill?
What, were they half damage?
Oh yeah. That be really good if you could just say no to that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'll say no to that.
Yeah, I think we will. Which actually means that if the Necron Menace, which we assume is probably going to become quite strong and quite meta and in the moment, and people
Especially
like to
after our teammate.
yeah, especially after Matt Laura, well done, bud. And they like to bring a lot of Catans, some lists running back 2 or 3, some even going a whole hog for 6, or like 5, I think it is. We're actually in a pretty good position to basically kill those damn things because we sit next to them, like, especially like you got stuff like, Predators that flat 3, and because they only have 4 up saves, Catan, they don't have 2 up saves. Which means we can, with our lethal hits especially, we can put a lot of save rolls onto them, and we have a lot of damage too, and they can't half that.
One Predator Destructor is going to, like, you put that in, even if it's not in half range, right? It's 4 shots at strength 9, which it's going to be, re-rolling 1s to wound because of Morty as well. It's flat 3 damage. It's, then you've got 6 heavy plague bolters, which are 2 damage with lethals and sustained. We can give it extra AP. There's it's like that's just
So
one. It starts stacking up.
let's have a Let's have a quick pause on it and have a quick round table like we did with the Blightspawn. Is Morty back? Are people going to try and work him back into the list?
Yeah.
So are we going to
Yes,
sort of...
I'm,
Yes.
as soon as I build a list, the first model I'm adding is Morty.
Oh fuck yeah,
Okay.
Morty's back.
Yeah.
Morty's stupidly cheap. He's also people always say, "Oh, Morty does not that." Morty can kill shit. You just don't run him into 4-pin ones, but you can go punch tanks quite easily.
And it just takes longer.
Yeah, but Morty's great for absorbing damage, for just taking shots. He's a fantastic force multiplayer, and he's just the big no button again. My opponent explains to me for 10 minutes about how his unit's -1 to hit, -1 to wound, -1 AP, and I'm going to half your damage. And you just say, mate, I don't care. I just don't give a shit. And that's...
So, does Morty... How does Morty work with PVCs? Is it backed out? Was it the start of the edition? Is it literally back to...
I don't think you have to do that build, but I think it's still a viable build.
It's
I think,
still there.
Honestly, I'm looking at Morty being followed around by triple heavy blight launcher drones, just plinking out. What's that, like 8, 6, 12, 18 shots a turn for like less than what's that, like just over 500 points, and they can all split off and do things, and they just plink it away, flat 2 damage and everything, flat AP 2, and can't modify it. Again, I've wanted to play Morty again because his reroll 1s to wound is extremely good, especially on predators and things like that. Also, the ability to extend contagion auras is actually genuinely something you consider now because of the new contagion effects. I genuinely, because the thing is, in the UK we haven't been able to play with Unleashed Morty for a while, especially since the contagion update. Now people like Don Hooson have been able to, because America events actually let Morty be what Morty should be. So Don Hooson in chat could probably attest better to how powerful Morty is as a force multiplayer there, because I mean, I know what he's like. I played him. I made the original list that, like, you know, did decent with the whole PBCs, the Morty, the LOV. And the thing is, when you just get to a point where you just don't care about your opponent's defensives, there's something really powerful, because it messes with your opponent's head, because opponents are used to a unit being durable, and we are the ultimate army of taking your durability away. We reduce your save, we take away your minus damage, we take away your armor of contempt, we take away your minus to hit, your minus to wound. You don't get any of it, and people don't know how to play when they've got in their head how durable units should be. So they put out this unit that's usually like unkillable or needs godlike firepower to kill, and suddenly it's really killable, and they don't know what to do. And it's such a great unique tool to Death Guard, because the other armies have it, but it's usually restricted to like one unit. Ours is an aura, which is absolutely bonkers. And I'm sure, like, if you guys have played with Morty and attested to it, just being able to build, just it's funny because you have to remind your opponent, yeah, I won't do anything. Yeah, I'm gonna armor protect. No, don't bother.
Yeah. I played my biggest impact of that was I was playing a guard player, a friend of mine, and with Morty when he was at his full powers. Now he's back to full powers, and the guy had 9 CP in turn 4 or something, and was just like, I can't spend it. I've got nothing to use it on because you're just ignoring everything. Like, in the end, he was just throwing CP rerolls onto anything just to start using CP up.
But again, it's also to do with how cheap Mortarion is. Like 325 for Morty's just silly. I think you don't have to take Morty. I think there's still, because of our points cost being low and our new contagion effects, I think Morty list is still fine. Like Plod Squad's still gonna work. A lot of a list is still work, but the fact that Morty's once again a really viable build. Like I've said it before, Death Guard is one of the best armies in the game at the moment for list diversity, and it just got even better. Like, Morty is back, baby. But if you don't like Morty, you don't got to take him. It's not auto.
But that's what I think the benefit was when they took this away. It forced a lot of our player base to build Mortyless. It forced me to do it, right?
Same.
So I then started exploring the rest of the army, and you're now right. Like, now he's back. It's like having the chance of playing a chessboard, right? It's like putting the queen back on the board if you wanted to, but we've actually built a list without that. So I think there's some real flex that's come from having us not be able to use Morty in the same way for a while, but now we've got it back.
Yeah, I was into a stream at some point, and there was a fella in the chat, and the guy's stream was being really negative about Death Guard. I don't think he quite understood like the state Death Guard was in, how actually good they were. And a lot of his chat, because obviously chats do kind of mimic the people that listen to and whatnot, they were all saying like, "Oh, Death Guard's awful," and I was in the chat and I was like, "What are you guys talking about?" and then they're all like, it's got one of the worst internal balances. I'm like, are you guys high? It's like, the internal balance of this book is like, we have like 2 dead units, which is a Demon Prince and a Plague Surgeon. Everything else can kind of be used and do pretty well. I mean, hell, like, if you really want to, you can even take Noxious Blightbringer. It's not the greatest thing, but it's not the worst.
Well, what about you? What do you think? Is it is Morty getting that back tempting you to kind of drop him back in, or do you feel like that's not really enough to sway your traditional list build?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I think of the 3 of us, I think I was the last one to drop him, actually.
Okay.
I ran him in my current iteration for quite a while. I always just felt like he just lacked in some way. Like, but I was running him very differently. I mean, I think I've talked about it previously. I'd use him to start the trades. I'd always use him to put on an objective and go, you've got to deal with him because he's got 6 OC. You've got to either bring loads of OC, which he'll just pick up because he is good at picking up things like that. At least with his OC means to make a game. Or you've got to commit a hammer unit. And at that point, it's probably just the saddest game of handbags you've ever seen in your life, where Morty can't kill them, they can't kill him, and they just stand there all game, just sort of, throwing things at each other. And Morty likely has the OC to sort of take them out, especially if you took the OC Contagion in this one. I think he's definitely got some play. And I went a bit quiet there because I was just trying to think, would I bring him back in the current iteration? But he was, because it's going very close to what I ran at Leicester if I did that, but because the Plague Marines have gone up, it is just the Plague Marines and the Nurglings at that point which have gone up, so I'd have to see where I would find the points, because I can't help but feel at this sort of point I can't see a world where I can run a list without 30 Plague Marines, if I'm honest. I feel like I just eat the points rather than drop to 25, so I don't know, if I drop the 25 Plague Marines, I could just take that exact same list. And it's, I'm just back to where I was, feel very comfortable with it. And the current list I was running, I was thinking I'd just drop the PBC and just put something else in, which again is the same sort of situation. I just don't know with Morty. Like I say, I can definitely see the benefits of him, but I found when you take him, your playstyle changes to this kind of like clump, where you just can't help but move things around him, unless you move him out first and, like I say, use him as like a trading piece. But I have had times you move him out as a trading piece and you just feel your 4+ invuns and it's like, oh, I've just lost 325 points for nothing, if you know what I mean. So I don't know really. I'm a bit torn on him. So I'm gonna have to have a little think on Morty. Then I'm also thinking this is just a whole new build with him. But I think like Aidan said, and probably yourself, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer with Morty. I think you could take him in, I wouldn't bat an eye, and I'm sure there'll be some 5-0, 4-1 lists that take him regularly. And I'm sure, there'll be lots of 5-0, 4-1 lists that also don't take him, because I think the overall arching thing that I think we can hopefully all agree from this balanced data slate is I think in terms of power level have stayed pretty near. I think we're kind of on a par, especially if you're taking a lot of builds, because say for example you weren't running PBCs, you were running Plague Marines, but you also had Death Shrouds and Typhus, you're balanced out. You've gone up a little bit on your Plague Marines, but you've come down on your characters and your Death Shroud, and you probably hit equilibrium. So I think Death Guard are probably in a really good spot. I don't think... Maybe we haven't changed in the meta. Maybe we're still kind of top of B, bottom of A.
But the meta has changed. And that's the thing.
Well, that's what I mean. But I think the meta's changed, but I don't know if we've necessarily shifted to... Because other armies have also kind of gone up. Yeah. And I think the ones that have come down, like the S-tier armies have come down, but like they were so far ahead of us in terms of their power that I don't think that sort of really affects it too much. For say, we're probably still going to be playing the same armies left and right of us, if that makes sense, at a tournament. So I don't know. It's an interesting one. I think Morty's going to be a very sort of chalk and cheese decision. I don't think there's a right and I don't think there's a wrong. Same with PBCs, I think. But I wonder if PBCs and Morty are now kind of back to being hand in hand with each other, where it's kind of, if you take one, you know.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Do you take PBCs out, Morty? And I don't know.
Just very quickly to Ryan in the chat, new to the army. So welcome to the Death Guard, mate. Hope you're enjoying it.
Welcome.
Does Morty's aura stop AP minus? So Morty's aura lets you ignore modifiers to your attacking AP. So if you're attacking someone with AP 1, they try to use a stratagem like Armor of Contempt to reduce that to AP 0. Instead, you keep it at AP1 because you ignore the modifier. What you don't ignore is your opponent's AP when he's attacking you. So if the opponent has AP2 shooting at you, he's still AP2 shooting at you. It's only your units when they're making offensive actions that you ignore AP, not defensive.
Yeah, I think just to I think round off my kind of final commentary on this is what I am certainly liking the option of having again. It's making me smile think about it again. Is that turn 3 bring Morty out and go right? We've been trading, we've been killing stuff. Well, guess what? Here comes Morty, and I'm going to start blanking stuff with the lantern. I'm going to start like shooting you with like witchfire. I'm going to get into combat, or I'm going to stand on a point and go. I've just freed up whatever's here to come at you because I've now got OC6, like you said. So that bit I'm looking forward to. But to Will, to your point, I think what I'm going to play with is certainly with clubs and rep games is Morty and not PPCs, but try it with like the other vehicle mixes. Like try it with get some predators in the mix around Morty, get Morty in maybe upboard, and then try and combo in rapid ingressing Deathstroud or something, right? To like just start making a new threat grouping that isn't just like you said clumping PVCs around Morty.
I want to actually throw a caveat with Morty. Now this is something where I see this done so many times with Magnus and other things, and this is also an honesty call if you're going to run Morty, how you're going to play Morty and how honest you are with your play. Because Morty, if you move Morty properly, he's a problem. I always see, because I've happened before that the tournament where I've played Magnus and just pivoted him like 360 to like poke a pit with wings, he could shoot me and I let it off because I was already ahead. But if you move Morty properly and you have to pivot his wings, that is move. Morty generally has to start out on the line in the open if he's going to get to the centre. You have to be honest with yourself about that, because if you know that's meant to be and you're kind of just move his wings and just lift him up as if the wings aren't there, you are cheating. I'm sorry to say it's literally cheating. So if you're going to play him honestly, you have to accept I happy to put him on the line and sort of like go seconds, because I've had a few instances where that's how I was playing him in the list, to sort of start trades, and sometimes that was fine because the predators would slide out and shoot down the line. The carnivores would be ready to counter the charge, but you have to be honest with Morty and his wings, because I do see people, maybe it's not on purpose, but effectively cheating, where they just move him as if his wings aren't there and just lift him up and move him. You see people do it with Magnus and other big models too, and sometimes I'm playing against, it depends where we are, sometimes I call it out, other times I don't. But I think that's one of the things you have to bear into account with Morty, because he does still just move 10. As soon as you start turning his base to like, for example, just to turn him like, sort of like, I don't know, like halfway around or sort of like a quarter. I'm trying to think of degrees.
No, you're right. 80 degrees. Really got to measure it to be like, he has to go there and then he has to go that straight.
80 degrees is like 6 inches, and then he moves 4 inches. So if you put him in behind a big bit of terrain, he sometimes just takes 3 turns with his wing moves to get out and then slide through the gap. So it is something to be honest with yourself about if you're playing Morty. You have to take that into account. So that's what I'm thinking now, because I'm inkling I'd like to try putting him back in, but I have had those sad games where you want to bring him out and his wings just screw you.
You have to, like you said, you have to start making those positioning choices earlier to move him for, like, right around, like, you've got to make, if you want to bring him out in turn 3, you've got to move him into a more precarious position turn 2.
100%.
You're totally right.
Yeah, so I think he's definitely got play, though. I think this is the thing. I think it's going to be interesting. I think Morty's one of those, like I was talking about the bloat drums. I think he's definitely going to be tested, whether he makes the final cut for everyone. Be interesting, but it's probably, like we're saying, I think the big thing we're talking about wings and turning, probably the terrain set's going to be a huge influence on that, because at UKTC I found it hard often to hide him and PBCs. I couldn't get my head around how people were playing that way with that list, which is, I think it's just my play style, is I want to push things forward, and I don't like sort of holding things back. It feels very sort of alien to me, I suppose. So when I was kind of like trying to set everything up so it could rush out when it needed to, I was just finding that nothing fitted where I wanted it to. So maybe that's just me and my play style, but I think Morty's definitely back in the conversation. I just don't know. Now I've played, because like I say, I was very late dropping him compared to a lot of people, and I was very high on him. But now I've played without him, the things that I've put in instead, I actually think are collectively probably are better than him. If I'm sort of like
I think you might be wrong on that, Will. I don't think rotation costs movement.
Yeah, it does cost movement. That's what I'm saying.
Vehicles.
I don't think it does definitely cost. It
100% does. Because that's why knights can't just move. It's a pivot. You kind of let people off with infantry, but it's a move. It's like, because otherwise you'd move and you just pin it all the way around like a turret. So say like you don't have a turret down on Lehman Russ, if you pivot the turret, it's a move. People often don't play it properly, but it's a move. So if you're being snide to people, and then they use,
you absolutely have to. If you rotate, whichever point makes the furthest distance movement counts as movement on a pivot, on a rhino or on a land raider.
Yeah, because you can shoot from the tip of the wing, so it's like it's cheating if you just slide the tip of the wing round. You have to take that as a move. You have to measure it. I mean, obviously, if there's something in the rules of this edition that says otherwise.
Nope, you're fine. The distance a model moves is measured using a part of its base that moves the furthest along its path. If a model does not have a base, measure using whichever part of the model moves the furthest. So, no, technically rotation with a base model does not count as moving.
Yeah, but this is back to the where does a circle start? It doesn't have a beginning and an end, but it does have a beginning and an end. So you have to pick a point in the circle, like a dot on the circle. If that circle moves, it's moved. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the sort of a circle. When you start drawing a circle, the point where the pen goes down is to start the circle. So you have to imagine there's a dot on his base because you have to pick a point of the base. So you can't just be saying because it doesn't have a corner that it's infinite and you can spin round and round and round and that's not a move. It's still a move. Otherwise, think about things like turrets and stuff like that. It doesn't talk about an Imperial Guard turret, but if it didn't have the turret down, would you be happy with them just moving the tank and then moving the turret to get an extra 2 inches so like the tip stuck out and shot you, or do you say that's a 2-inch move?
No, but that's a vehicle though, without a base. That's the thing.
But it's not moving the base.
I think this conversation for vehicle versus base is a.
Yeah, I think there might be rules blowing a bit there in, if I'm honest. But at the same time, you'll probably have a better grasp of the rules.
It very specifically calls out if a unit doesn't have a base, it's any part of the model that moves. But it does say if it does have a base, then rotation does not count. So again, just have it. It's one of these things.
Yeah,
have a conversation with your opponent.
Imperial Knight players would be spinning those Knight every time
Oval's
an Imperial Knight
though.
spins.
That's the problem because you can't rotate a base without it moving its actual location.
I tell you what I would say on that one is if you're going to do it at tournament, speak to your TO first. As a TO, I'd say if you're going to do it, because people will just move Magnus to draw lines of sight from the tip of his wing. Like, that's not okay. You have to move it.
I'll jump in the VD chat on this one as well.
Yeah, let's part that one. People, we can look into that because that's what I think. That's how I play it. But maybe there is a rules as written thing where it's different. So like it's one of these things where that's why I'm caveating Morty isn't. There's problems with Morty that I think some people overlook because of his wings. But it might be that I'm screwing myself by playing a rule that doesn't actually exist anywhere other than my head. So yeah, should we go with the chat then? Because I feel like we've got a tangent.
Yeah,
I feel like we're nearly going to start like sending to the rules quotes in a minute.
Yeah, you guys do that, and we'll just I'll just take on the chat now. Yeah, let's see if there's anything else that anyone else just wants to do. Yeah, comment about the Horus Heresy mini. Yeah, that's been answered in chat. Yeah, the current fly rule can just still get in the bin. That's just a thing that should just go back to how it was. And then it's mostly base chat. Will, you started movement from the base, rotation, blah 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 blah. There's a comment saying, Will, you're making it too hard for yourself. So we won't answer any more questions or go into discussion about bases at this point. But this isn't disgustingly based. But it's a really good point, and we will check it out. Anything you guys want to say at the end? Apart from any closing thoughts on the whole thing?
No, I think this might be where we just open up the chat for 5-10 minutes to see if anyone's got anything they want to sort of chuck out there. See if anything, maybe it's not on the discussion of Morty's base, because I think even the chat seems to be a little bit torn on this. So I think I've opened a whole can of worms that probably going to take a while to put back on. So sort of ignoring Morty and circular bases and stuff like that. Is there anything in the chat anyone wants to sort of chuck out?
What do we think about cults? Someone's asked what do we think about cultists. I think their handle is I love them. The fact they get the gift and Nurgle and they get scout, yeah, absolutely love them.
I think cultists, I've said this on other videos, if you're going to play cards, I think you have to put a unit in because they're the only thing that can get to the centre on turn 1. If you get like a cleanse or area denial, I think you get more if you have to like put one of your units in there. Because Nurgles can't move through walls, I think if you're gonna like build a list to play cards, I think put at least one squad of cultists in just to open up that first turn sort of like scoring ability. Depending on what you draw.
Yeah.
So that's my personal opinion on cultists. But I think moving past more than one, or if your list is built to play fixed secondaries, I don't think that was essential.
Aidan, any comments on cultists?
Cultists, I think what's been interesting for cultists is the fact that Plague Marines have gone up in points to almost being 2 squads of cultists, which actually means that cultists are a bit more of an interesting choice again, rather than just being 30 points above Plague Marines. So I reckon you could. I'm debating obviously switching out like 5 Plague Marines for 2 units of cultists, plus obviously a bit of change. I still think cultists are fantastic. I have missed them. It's a unit you can put out onto the center objective to do cleanse because I play fixed a lot. Putting out a unit of 5 Plague Marines at the moment for 80 points and losing them to do a cleanse isn't too bad. 90's getting a bit oof now, but 50 point for a cultist, happy to do. Plus, cultists were really subject to indirect fire. All indirect fire has now been nerfed again, so they're actually looking a bit better again. So I think cultists are still a good unit. I like having 1. I think you could make an argument for 2.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's really fair.
Next question was around with plague drones and marines. Plague drones and marines being the same cost. What's got more value? Will, do you want to take that one first?
Oh, was that me you said, or Aidan?
Yeah, Will, do you want to take that one first?
I think Plague Marines, but I think it depends how you play them. I often use Plague Marines just as primary denial. I think if you put them in like a Rhino behind a wall, for example, especially, depend on the matchup and things like that. Normally Plague Marines will hold a point, especially if you've got like an attached Caratine, or because that's like the 11 OC. So I still think Plague Marines have a place. I don't think the bloke drones are reliable at killing things, which is, I seem to be a bit, on a different opinion from Aidan and Dave on that though. So I think maybe other people will be different, but I just think Plague Marines have got a lot more utility, and they're a throwaway unit. You put your Plague Marines out, and I think often they go out, they live for a turn, and you don't expect them to be there the following turn. Whereas I think the bloke drone probably is there the following turn, but when it goes out, what does it do? Does it reliably kill something? Does it go out and does it just lives, but it doesn't actually score you any points or stop them from scoring points? That would be how I would approach it.
I just want to see really quickly what Plague Bearers are at now, because 110 for 10. It's not awful anymore.
No.
They'd be fine for standing holding your home field. They're way more durable than cultists, poxwalkers, and Plague Marines on your home field.
You know what? That's actually not bad. That is genuinely consideration as an ally there. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I just kept saying people say it, and I wanted to have a check it. We go on to the next question. I know you guys want us to do a quick list, but honestly, because the problem is none of the list building tools are updated just yet with the new points, so it'd be a bit of a farce for us to do it. Dave's already stayed longer than he was intending to, because he's got to be up early in London or something in the morning.
That's all right. Good point out. I like the fact that already someone's knowing that I'm the kind of person who would take 3x6 DSTs. So the answer is yes. I will take that, and I'll actually, my next game at club I will 100% run that. And there's actually a good chance I might even run something like that at one of the tournaments coming up.
So what I think we'll do is I'll do like another stream, try and get some up later this week, and we'll make a few example lists on stream. Gives me Will and Dave a second to like make our list, then we'll sort of preview of them, which is grab a cherry adequate and do a list. For God's sake.
I think because we're trying to do like sort of regular podcast recordings as well. For anyone who listened to the last episode, obviously this is the podcast episode we would have recorded, so it might be a couple of weeks before we actually get one done. But the next podcast episode will probably be us talking about our list experiences, what we've done to change lists. Didn't we try Morty? Did we decide you have to measure his wings? But, we'll talk about the experiences. We'll talk about our lists, and we'll that'll probably be the next sort of like content that we put out. So rather than try and like squeeze that in now, because that's quite a big topic, and I think all three of us will come up with some quite sort of different opinions, and we'll have a good roundtable discussion about it.
One thing, sorry, I keep going. Dave's going to list, blood runs, point grabbers, yep. Can the biologists in a unit use the grenade strat after the unit they attach to has already used the strat? No, so it's just one unit, one strat. So if you had the biology speechwriter on his own and the squad next to it, they could both grenade. If you had the biology speechwriter in a squad and then another unit with a grenade, they could both grenade. But you can't do the same unit grenade twice. No, Will, you can't.
It says model, not unit.
It doesn't matter.
It's model.
No, Will, this is a flat out no. No, you can't.
No,
I would have
Dave, tell him.
No, you can't.
Okay, I thought because it said model, so I thought it meant the biology speech.
Well, look, when you target when you target the original strat, it's already targeted the unit.
Yeah, because he's leading the unit. He's considered to be part of that unit, so it has to be another unit. So it could be the Lord of Contagion has got grenade strat keyword, has got grenades as a keyword.
Even though it's worded model, because if it was worded unit, I get it because it's worded model.
If he was solo, or the unit he was attached to was killed and you hadn't used it yet, or you were running him solo and a unit of Plague Marines and one attached to a unit of Plague Marines, you could use it on the one attached to the unit of Plague Marines, then on the other one, then on the Plague Marines that are solo without him being led. The one that he's attached to counts as one unit.
Okay.
So make it real quick. So so you have the unit, okay? You spend the command point to use the strat on the unit. At that point, every model in that unit has counted as using their stratagem. That is why then when you go to activate his, you can't because he's already used it. And you can't do it the other way around because the second you use the free one first, because only targets him, correct? But then you can't spend the strat because you've already used that strat this phase.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so
yeah, that makes sense.
That is 100% a no-no. So yeah, if Goonhammer wrote that, then Goonhammer definitely wrong on that one. Sorry, guys. With points rules being obviously volatile, what is the plan for the channel? Updating Perfect Plague episodes. Okay, so Perfect Plague episodes are a bit difficult, as we're starting to realise. So they are kind of a snapshot in time for when the meta is. Obviously, metas do change. There's still lessons in there that are important and you can take away from it. I'm trying to go forward just doing books that are out from now on. So obviously, it's a bit more longevity in that. The problem being that obviously it's hard to make content that's always relevant. So I will be doing, I know we've done this live stream, I'll be doing a video as well for the Faction Fundamental series, which will be like a 30-minute recap of this, the effects, the ups and downs, the bonuses and whatnot. I can update them, but for the faction specific matchup ones, the chances of the Eldar getting an update will probably be when the book comes out, because otherwise I just get caught in this endless loop of having to basically redo every single video every single time, every time there's a balanced data slate. And like those videos are like they take a while to make, because I have to like go and research a faction, get all the pictures for the faction, stuff like that. So I will try, and if you have specific information you're after, feel free to message me and I'll reply to you and try and share what I can. But I just understand, guys, it's a bit hard to sort of always be on top of the meta of every faction and sort of like giving the information. I'll try and keep stuff updated, and if there's big changes, then obviously we'll update stuff. But that's why I'm going to try from now on to stick to ones that have codexes out. But Faction Fundamentals is where you'll find the balanced data slate updates as part of it. We've already had one, so there'll be another one now. I've also got another Faction Fundamentals coming out. It's all ready. I've just got to record it for the shooting phase. I was talking to these guys about stuff like sequencing, priority targets, etc. So that'll be coming out soon, because I haven't done a Faction Fundamentals in a while. So hopefully we'll have the sort of balanced data slate updates in that series. So then we got going to future cast. Today we saw a new Drakari detachment. What would you want in a future Death Guard detachment? Army wide, feel no pain, army wide -1 damage. Honestly, no, they're both boring. I know it sounds weird, but I'm so used to not having -1 damage and feel no pain now that if that was my detachment rule, I'd be like, wow, that's boring. I'd be like, I want a detachment rule that rewards me as a player for doing something like the Contagions currently do. Whereas just saying, oh, your entire army gets X bonus, to me is just boring. I don't know about you two guys, but that's how I see it anyway.
I think Typhus is one back we've talked about before, the Poxwalker one. Yeah, Terminus. Something like that would be nice. Where Terminus Est and the Demon Engine one that I always thought was going to come in the follow-up book that never did. Because I thought he was going to take over this sort of like... What was the fluff, wasn't it? He tries to take over the... I forget what they call the Admech planet, we'll call it. I forget their actual name. And then I thought the next book, because Sister's got 2 detachments, I thought we were going to be in the next one because Typhus was still in the fluff. And it would be the next one would be like a Demon Engine detachment because we now had the Forging. So I think that'd be nice, you know, like a sort of Demon Engine one comes back, like with the Ironclad Furnace, for example, coming back as a relic or some iteration of it. Those 2 things would be nice. So it's kind of like maybe where you take a particular sort of HQ and it opens up different units as battle line or something like that. But I don't know. What about you, Dave? Have you got any thoughts?
It's a really tough one. I think getting the new sicknesses was such a boon and a way to play now that I'm kind of trying not to second guess it, to be honest. But I think the only thing I thought was something that gives us a bit more, brings a model like the Poxwalkers back into the fold a bit more corely and gives it more movement. So we discussed it last time. I'm kind of on the Terminus S bandwagon a bit.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty good. Is there anything else in the chat? Or?
Yeah, just no idea who I am saying. I suppose Plague Scrolls outside the question now. Nope, totally not. Plague Scrolls are still great. Even with the points cost, Plague Scrolls are still going to be great. A lot of people still be running 3 of them. Don't be put off by the points increase on that unit. There's been decreases elsewhere to make up for it. They just increased all indirect, which is fair, but it's still a really good unit for what it is, and I'll still be running them. So definitely don't be shelving your Plague Scrolls. But it's more of a choice now. Like, you can run without them. You can run with them. It's not just a, hey, take your free Plague Scrollers. But yeah, I think when's discussing the Resilient Festival, we all play Death Guard and drink. Well, apparently if we hit 5k subscribers, I have to eat a platter of cheese, and Will has to wear a mankini, and God knows what we're going to make Dave do. But yeah,
Dave probably just has to film it and and keep his eyes open while he watches this horrors and board in front of him.
But yeah, I think that's everything for now, fellas. Have we covered? Yes, we have covered that the sticky objectives don't protect us anymore on the phase-by-phase lock. We did mention it before, Edu. Probably just go back about 20-25 minutes and you'll be out there-ish. But yeah, I think that's all. It's cracking on now. Like I said, Dave's stayed a bit longer than he should anyway. I'm probably going to call it there for tonight.
So I think it's a good time.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for now. 150 viewers average is pretty fucking insane.
50 people watching us talk for 2 hours is pretty
about Death Guard, yeah. And
thank you, guys.
Just quick really upcoming content. So we have obviously, like I said, Shooting Phase Faction Fundamentals. We'll have a quick video, sort of 30 minutes for this one, to sort of be like a wrap up. If you haven't catched the live stream, you can sort of watch this video and a quick overview of the balance update, what it means for us. I just saw, someone just tagged me on Facebook and he's got a couple things on it. People now with Morty and the Morty ruling being back want a video that just is about Morty and what you can ignore. I can make a 15-minute video for you and take you through every example of what Morty does ignore and what he doesn't ignore. So I will get that up so people can then reference it, and we will end the question of what does Morty affect once and for all. But yeah, as for people say, is anyone heading to Coventry this weekend? Yes, I am at Coventry this weekend. I am on Team Vanguard Tactics, which we'll plug that in a second. So I am there if you are there.
So team tournament. I'm playing a team tournament at Element Games. And
ITT, you goon. It's international team tournament.
Right. That's a bit unfortunate for the Northern Warlords guy. I didn't realise it. Another tour. I wonder where Robbo will be. This will be interesting to see where Robbo pledges allegiance with his home club, or is he going to go for the England camp? So we'll have to see on that one. So yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interject there. I just didn't realise there was a team tournament this weekend.
But yeah, so we'll have that content up. Again, Dave's working on his little series that he's doing. Do you want to tell a quick word about that, Dave?
Yeah, no, so the first episode of that I will get into these guys just to get uploaded. That will be done, I'm hoping, on the weekend. That's going to basically, the first one is about predators. So talking about what I'm going to cover in those, they're going to be more bite-sized content. So 10-15 minutes at most, but it will be about model size, how it interacts with terrain, particularly around things like UKTC. It'll be things like how you ensure you're getting kind of the best use out of it, cover. We'll talk about the characteristics of the model and like kind of uses for those. And with Predators, obviously, there's 2 formats we've got, and just the way you can load those out and good ways to play them.
Nice.
So someone's just made a real good point. You can't take... Oh, no, you can take 3 War Dogs. No, okay, there's no 500-point limit on War Dogs. That's just a demon rule. The Knight's ally rule is for up to 3 War Dogs or 1 Big Knight, regardless of points. So don't worry about the points. I think it doesn't apply to War Dogs very quickly. But yeah, so there'll be more upcoming content. Again, if you've got to become a member, feel free to join, become a Plague Marine. You get access to Discord, vote on upcoming content. We've got another giveaway coming away soon. I did see Saltai Games in here before. I need to have a chat with him at some point. I need to get back to him on something. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in.
Please subscribe, please like. That helps, as everyone says on every channel going. The algorithm gets our content out there to work with people, and please invite people that you know that like Death Guard or have an interest in it to come and watch.
Yeah, and obviously you can follow Death Guard Dave on Instagram as well. If you want a cheeky little funny video updates for Death Guard and updates on these events and stuff. And obviously me and Dave do play for Vanguard Tactics. Not Will because he's too shit.
I've got more
Come
that's what I've got. Do you know what I mean?
I'm joking.
Play for team Stonehammers where attack, guys. Do you know what I mean? Just a bunch of guys. Bunch of guys who generally don't do very well at events.
But yeah, so do check out Vanguard Tactics. We do have there will be an affiliate link. Won't be right now, but on our other videos you can find one if you want to learn how to play Warhammer. Sort of accelerate your gameplay on there. Sure, when the Death Guard Codex comes out, me and Dave will probably be on that channel a bit more. Hopefully, we'll see. But yeah, for now, thank you very much, everyone. We're gonna let you all go, and we'll let my fellas go here. So
just before we go, I've got one thing to plug. It's very very quick. So as I mentioned, I'm on Team Stonehammer, which is by far the superior team. But no. So we do have a Stonehammer GT
scoreboard.
There you go. We do have a DT coming up at Element Games in February on the 17th and 18th. The tickets for Element, because no one ever knows where to get them. Bottom page. Go to the bottom of the page, bottom right. It's a tiny little thing that says events tickets. We are nearly sold out, but we're looking to put more tables on. If anyone's looking to play, keep checking the website because we'd love to get you down there. The more Death Guard players, the better. But just wanted to just selfishly plug that there. And thank you very much, guys. And look forward to seeing the next one. And Aid will probably be there playing, so you can come and see if you can beat Aiden because he seems to have a rolling free ticket. It's costing me a small fortune. But yeah.
And also thank you very much to No Idea Who I Am, who just became a Plague Marine. Thank you very much, bud. Massively appreciate the support. Yeah, so good night, everyone. We'll catch you all on the next one. Take care. And it's a good time to be a Death Guard player. Woo!